blood splashed. That Pill Valley disciple's head exploded and a translucent figure shot back. This slap had destroyed his physical body. Only his soul escaped. That was the terror of alchemists. Even when their physical bodies were destroyed, their souls could exist independently. They were different from ordinary experts. Alchemists cultivated spiritual strength. Even after losing their bodies, they could unleash powerful spiritual attacks. Bastard, you destroyed my physical body. I'll kill you, your entire family, your dash. That person's roar was cut off by a lightning arrow. His soul exploded. Okay, I'll kill you instead. Long Chen had intentionally been merciful just now. He knew that even if he destroyed his physical body, this alchemist could have found another body and continued cultivating. But Long Chen quickly realized he had made another foolish mistake. They weren't merciful to him. His mercy had caused them to threaten to kill him and his family. Long Chen immediately realized his mistake and killed him. This all happened so quickly that even the Pill Valley's king couldn't react. That person who had gone out just now was one of his genius disciples who had reached late sea expansion. His combat power was extremely strong. That was why he hadn't stopped him. He just viewed it as a trial for his disciple. But who would have thought that this talented disciple of his wasn't able to bear a single blow from Long Chen? He hadn't even had a chance to save him. Everyone was startled. One reason was because of Long Chen's strength, while another was his guts. He actually killed a king's disciple right in front of him? Courting death. The Pill Valley's king immediately erupted in fury. The veins on his forehead bulged and killing intent erupted. Killing a master's disciple right in front of them was worse than a slap in the face. Old ghost, do you see what this is? Long Chen smiled coldly and suddenly took out a medicinal pill. The Pill Valley's king's expression instantly changed. Tiger Dragon Heavenly Explosion Pill? And peak grade? How do you possess such a medicinal pill? Why should I tell you, you sanctimonious hypocrite? Long Chen's gaze moved across the other two kings. The reason you've decided to capture me has nothing to do with upholding justice or getting revenge for your clansmen. You're just a pack of greedy dogs. You want my secrets, but you still put on such an act, nauseating. That's enough. Long Chen, you're the one who has committed innumerable crimes. Everyone in the righteous path knows about those things. Do you think anyone would believe your words? Even if you have a peak-grade Tiger Dragon Heavenly Explosion Pill, so what? You aren't even at the peak of sea expansion. If you consume it, it would be a miracle if you didn't immediately explode. But even if your body doesn't immediately die, just how much of the pill's power do you think you can release? And once its effect has passed, your meridians will be destroyed, and you'll be no different from a cripple. I'd advise you to not struggle uselessly. Perhaps you feel wronged, but you can trust my Pill Valley. Pill Valley is always neutral and fair. If you had reasons for your actions, we won't kill you. In fact, we'll help you prove your innocence. Don't be obstinate. That will not just cause you to lose your own life but will also implicate innocent lives, said the Pill Valley's king. Just now, he had almost directly attacked to kill Long Chen. But Long Chen was right, he wanted his secrets. Hearing this, the Xin Tian Dao sect's experts were infuriated. This was absolutely shameless. They clearly wanted his life but were actually demanding he go peacefully. Fuck off, you damn kings. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, don't fall for it. Since we've all come, we don't have any plans of leaving alive. Let's go all out. Roared a disciple. Go all out. All of them roared and took out their weapons, prepared for a fight to the death. Originally, they had been a bit afraid due to the arrival of a king. But now seeing that these three kings didn't give a damn about the truth and directly called Long Chen a criminal, they were all infuriated. Shut up. You ants don't have the qualifications to speak, shouted the black-robed ancient race expert. His voice wasn't loud, but it somehow rang like thunder in everyone's ears. The Xin Tian Dao sect's disciples felt their heads buzzing, and blood leaked out of their ears. They collapsed on the ground. Only a few sea expansion experts were able to resist. Long Chen, since you want to persist in going about things the wrong way, don't blame me for bullying the weak. A peak-grade Tiger Dragon Heavenly Explosion Pill isn't enough to save your life. roared the Pill Valley's king. Is that so? I don't believe that. This peak-grade tiger dragon heavenly explosion pill can not only preserve my life, but it can allow me to leave here safely. Most importantly, once I leave, I will kill every last person here, including those idiots by your side. Sneered Long Chen. Long Chen was confident. He was very clear on the power of the pill in his hand. For an ordinary sea expansion expert, consuming it would mean certain death. But he had the green dragon battle armor. He could definitely endure the medicinal energy. At that time, his power would be 10 times greater than normal. Even if he couldn't beat a king, he could clean up the trash by their side. Then he could use the lightning body blink to escape. No one could stop him. The Pill Valley's king's expression changed. The attack Long Chen had used just now had shocked him. Although he hadn't seen it clearly, Long Chen's explosive speed did cause him some worry. Now seeing Long Chen so confident, he became a bit unsure. But he sneered, even if you can endure that pill's energy, your body will be crippled. Although it's just a 7th-tier pill, it is an ancient pill. Only before the change in heaven and earth could a peak sea expansion expert consume it safely. But the world has changed, and the current age's cultivators cannot compare to ancient cultivators. Furthermore, that is a peak-grade pill. The chance of you being able to digest it is less than 10%. Even if you do, with me present, there's no chance of you harming a single hair on my disciples' heads. I'd advise you to not resist. Think about yourself and about the people by your side. His meaning was extremely obvious. He no longer bothered with the charade and laid the threat bare. Even if Long Chen escaped, none of the people by his side would survive. You shameless bitch. Were all your thousands of years wasted as a dog? Guoran couldn't help but curse. There's no need for me to think about anything. I, Long Chen, never submit to threats. If you dare to attack my people, then I will break out of your encirclement, conceal my identity, and bitterly cultivate until I am at the peak of the martial path. Then I'll get revenge for all of them, said Long Chen calmly. The current situation had far surpassed his expectations. But he had already thought things through before coming here. He would no longer hesitate. Even if what was ahead was a den of dragons and tigers, he would still go. He would no longer painstakingly scheme against others. Starting now, when he sensed a threat, he would go all out to eliminate it. He found that after that domineering moment from the Jiuli's secret realm, he had gradually become apprehensive again and his guts had only grown smaller. He had become more and more reliant on intelligence instead of power. But intelligence was deceptive. No matter how many trump cards you prepared, they would never be enough. Little Snow was an example. So he gave up on that. If he died, then he died. He wouldn't retreat. Do you think you'll have that chance? Sneered the ancient race and ancient family alliance's kings. They both extended a hand, and the world was bound by endless runes. Space became locked. Long Chen didn't even have a chance to devour the peak-grade dragon tiger heavenly explosion pill. A large hand reached toward him. It was like the world was frozen around him. But a cold smile appeared on Long Chen's face. His divine ring appeared, and 4 stars revolved in his eyes, but this spatial power still didn't break. However, when green scales covered his body, a sacred aura erupted and his spatial bindings shattered. Long Chen tossed the medicinal pill into his mouth. There's no need to go so all out. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. 2 chi waves erupted, and the ancient race's king and ancient family alliance's king were both blown back. The ancient race's king was sent flying and vomited blood, while the ancient family alliance's king was slashed on the shoulder and cut in 2. His blood splashed through the air. This sudden change caught everyone off guard. Long Chen had only just tossed the Dragon Tiger Heavenly Explosion pill into his mouth when he stopped and didn't consume it. He looked at that familiar figure with disbelief. A sword slowly returned to its sheath. A man stood in front of Long Chen, and there was a 30-meter black hole in the sky in front of him. The void had been cleanly cut apart just like this. That blackness seemed to be able to devour anything. Just looking at it would make a person feel like their soul was being drawn in. After that, the injury to the void healed in a single breath. It was an unforgettable scene. Long Chen, it's been a few years. Your ability to cause trouble only grows stronger. That man turned around. Sect leader. Long Chen, Meng Qi, Tang Wana, Gu Yang, and all the disciples who had originally been part of the 108th monastery all had their jaws drop. His aura had completely transformed, but his outer appearance was still the same. His sword was sheathed on his back, and he wore snow-white robes. Sect leader. They were delighted. This was the 108th monastery's sect leader from back then, Ling Yunzi. He had actually appeared here. With one slash of his sword, he cut a king in two. However, that king used some unknown technique to reconnect the two parts of his body. He looked in shock at Ling Yunzi. Other than Ling Yunzi, there was a middle-aged man in the air as well. Just now, a slash of his sword had blown back the ancient family alliance's king. He was extremely tall and muscular. It was like snakes were wriggling beneath his skin. He was bursting out with energy. He had a broadsword almost just as tall as him on his back. He was like an immovable mountain as he stood there. "You're from the heaven-splitting battle sect?" demanded the ancient family alliance's king. Hearing that he came from the heaven-splitting battle sect, Long Chen didn't find it odd at all. As soon as he had attacked, he had sensed the aura of split the heavens. Although the move he had used wasn't split the heavens, he couldn't have mistaken that aura. That large man didn't even glance at the king. He turned to Long Chen. "Not bad, little fellow. Due to this medal, you won't be beaten too badly." His voice wasn't loud, but it was like thunder in everyone's ears. They all knew this person had to be a king and wouldn't bother trying to flaunt his power in front of them. His voice was probably just like that. Even from this distance, his voice shook their eardrums. If they were closer, wouldn't they go deaf? Long Chen didn't know what was happening, but he knew he was helping him. There was no need for him to throw away his life anymore. "Many thanks for helping, senior." Long Chen hastily bowed. The large man waved his hand. "Don't do so many useless things. The reason I've come here is because I was ordered to come support you. Today, if you want to kill someone, then go ahead and kill them. If someone dares to interfere, I'll cut off their heads. Speaking of which, who are you? How have I never heard of you in Central Plains? It seems you are very powerful." He turned to look at Ling Yunzi, battle intent soaring in his eyes. "Junior brother is Ling Yunzi. Greetings, senior." Ling Yunzi smiled. "Ling Yunzi? Why does that sound so familiar? Didn't the Heavenly Sword sect obtain a peerless genius with that name who has already comprehended the Annihilation Sword Tao? Is that you?" said the heaven-splitting battle sect's man. "I am simply indebted to the Heavenly Sword sect's master and cultivating there." "Senior brother overpraises me," said Ling Yunzi. Although his words were very calm, just hearing the name of the Heavenly Sword sect was enough to shake everyone. The Heavenly Sword sect was extremely famous on the Martial Heaven continent. They only had a few hundred members, but they only accepted sword cultivators, and only sword cultivators that had comprehended sword intent at that. They were different from other sects and rarely interfered with mundane matters. They were like a group of hermits that had isolated themselves from the world to cultivate. They rarely had any interactions with the rest of the world, but they were exceedingly terrifying experts. Anyone could try to join the Heavenly Sword sect. As long as they passed the test regarding the Sword Tao, they could join. After that, they would enjoy all the Heavenly Sword sect's resources given to sword cultivators. However, the test was extremely strict and focused on the Sword Tao. The probability of passing was less than 1 in 10,000, and the price for failure was death. It was a cruel trial. But every person who managed to pass would have their name carved onto the Heavenly Sword sect's Heavenly Sword tablet at the front of the sect. It had been many years since someone had managed to pass the trial and join the Heavenly Sword sect. But over a year ago, Ling Yunzi had managed to pass, and when his name had been carved onto the Heavenly Sword tablet, it had caused his fame to explosively grow. That was why this heaven-splitting battle sect's king would feel that his name was very familiar. He asked, "Don't the Heavenly Sword sect's experts only cultivate the Sword Tao and not interfere in mundane matters? Why have you run over here?" In truth, the Heavenly Sword sect doesn't require its members to act in any way, nor does it restrict our freedom. It just requires us to act according to our heart. There are some seniors who already have no ties to the rest of the world, so they don't even leave the sect. There are also some who are completely engrossed in the Sword Tao and don't care about anything else. However, I was never able to let my heart rest, and so the sect let me come out to settle my affairs. And now you see the result. Ling Yunzi smiled at Long Chen. You have a relationship with Long Chen? The large man was startled. Not just any relationship. The reason I could attain my current height is all because of Long Chen. So whoever tries to make things hard on Long Chen today will meet their death. Ling Yunzi looked at the three kings. His voice was flat but full of unquestionable resolve. Hearing that Ling Yunzi was this powerful because of Long Chen, everyone was startled. Even Long Chen was startled. Long Chen didn't know that Ling Yunzi's annihilation sword Tao was something he had comprehended after helping him erase the lightning tribulation energy within his body. He had comprehended the essence of annihilation, opening a completely new path for himself. Long Chen, as you get stronger, your ability to cause trouble also grows. Ling Yunzi looked from Long Chen to the mass of experts below. Hee, many thanks sect leader for your praise, laughed Long Chen. Now that Ling Yunzi and this large man from the heaven-splitting battle sect had arrived, the crisis had been resolved. Long Chen's mood was no longer so heavy. He wanted to ask Ling Yunzi what he had done during the past few years for his cultivation base to grow to such a shocking level, but now wasn't the time. Only a man who dares to cause trouble is a real man. If you flinch and cower when you do everything, what's the point of living? Originally, I was in seclusion, but I was ordered to take a trip here. That was irritating, so I was going to give you a beating to vent. However, your display is very satisfactory, so I won't. I'll leave this beating for later, laughed the large man from the heaven-splitting battle sect. He patted Long Chen on the shoulder. Booming sounds rang out when his palm struck Long Chen's shoulder. He felt like his bones were about to break. Hee, although you're a bit small, this courage is not bad. Truly not bad. That large man examined Long Chen from head to toe like he was a treasure, causing Long Chen's hair to stand on end. Senior, said Long Chen. Don't call me senior. What an irritating word. I am Feng Xinglie and ranked 3rd. You aren't one of the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples yet, so you can call me 3rd uncle. If you aren't satisfied to be suppressed by me in terms of seniority, then hurry and raise your cultivation base. When you become a king, you can call me 3rd brother, said Feng Xinglie. Everyone was startled. How was it that Long Chen had such a close relationship with a king from the heaven-splitting battle sect? The remote Heaven Gang's patriarch's expression became extremely ugly. The matter had developed out of his control. They could only watch. They didn't even have the qualifications to speak. Seeing two kings stand by Long Chen's side caused the other kings to be startled and infuriated. The king from Pill Valley icily said, "Are you really going to harbor a criminal like Long Chen?" Ling Yunzi was about to reply when Feng Xinglie took the initiative. There's no need for so much bullshit. Although you're from Pill Valley, you can't represent Pill Valley's higher-ups. You still aren't at that level. Furthermore, when did the righteous paths matters become something you can stick your nose into? Meddlesome dog. You! The Pill Valley's king was infuriated. Feng Xinglie's words were too ugly and didn't give him face in the slightest. What you? I am here to support Long Chen, and if you refuse to accept that, let's fight. If you don't want to fight, then fuck off. What's the point of all these useless words? Feng Xinglie frowned irritably. The heaven-splitting battle sect's people all liked to be direct. They would rather fight with their fists than their tongues. Bastard, my Pill Valley received an invitation to come here to get justice. As for you, raged the Pill Valley's king. Old bastard, do you want to try cursing me again? Feng Xinglie's expression sank. His hand reached toward the broadsword on his back. The instant he grabbed the hilt, the world turned still. A powerful aura locked onto the Pill Valley's king. If he dared to move, he would meet a thunderous attack from Feng Xinglie. The lock of a king was incomparably terrifying as heaven and earth seemed to be suppressed. Each person felt like their heart was about to leap out of their chest. You! The Pill Valley's king was startled and infuriated. Although he knew that the heaven-splitting battle sex people were all blockheads who didn't talk reason, this was far too domineering. Pill Valley's position was extremely high. Each sect had to be respectful and deferential to them. After all, they all relied on Pill Valley's medicinal pills. So Pill Valley's people were all arrogant and looked down on others. But Feng Xinglia didn't accept that. The other Pill Valley's disciples all tottered on the verge of collapse just from being near Feng Xinglia's lock. The other two kings didn't know what to do. The heaven-splitting battle sex people were all madmen. No one wanted to provoke them. I didn't think this place would be so lively. For all of you to come here for my Shintiandao sex matters truly make me endlessly grateful. An elderly voice rang out. Two figures appeared far away, crossing the distance in an instant. The two elders had white hair and lean faces. They gave off a feeling of the immortal Tao. With their white robes, they looked like immortals who had walked out of a painting to grace the mundane world. It was like they might vanish with the wind at any moment. Disciple Ouyang Chuyu greets elders. Ouyang Chuyu hastily bowed. These two were kings from the head sect. The person at the front appeared exceptionally old, but from the features of his lean face, it was possible to tell he had to have been very handsome in his youth. The other one had an icier face. His lips were thin, his eyebrows were thin and long, and in general, he gave off an unfriendly feeling. Ouyang Chuyu, as the sect master of the Shintiandao sect, you should be the leader of the righteous path here. How could you have done such crazy things? When did the righteous path's people begin slaughtering each other? The icy elder shouted at Ouyang Chuyu. Ouyang Chuyu lowered her head and didn't reply. She knew that this elder was doing this on purpose. It was like a family head scolding two children for fighting. No matter what, they had to first scold their own child, and only then would they investigate what had happened. That was the way for them to seem magnanimous. Disciple knows her wrongs. Ouyang Chuyu was experienced and she obediently apologized. Only then did the icy elder nod. The other elder bowed slightly toward Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia, saying, I am Li Changfeng, and this is my junior brother, Lu Minghan. He is a law enforcement elder from the Shintiandao sect. To have bothered all of you because of the Shintiandao sect's matters shames me. Li Changfeng's voice was simple, not fast or slow, not servile or overbearing. It was extremely comfortable to listen to. And paired with his mannerisms, it was as if he was saying this was what an expert should act like. My Pill Valley doesn't meddle in other people's affairs. People were wronged and needed trust, and so they asked us to get justice for them, said the Pill Valley's king in response to Li Changfeng's words. Now that he was talking to someone reasonable, he clearly didn't have so many misgivings and directly expressed his dissatisfaction. He hadn't dared to do that with someone as unreasonable as Feng Xinglia. Madmen were the most terrifying ones. Feng Xinglia narrowed his eyes but didn't say anything. He couldn't be bothered with this kind of battle of tongues. It wasn't as delightful as using his sword. Ling Yunzi also didn't say anything. Now that the Shintiandao sect had come to take charge of this matter, he could just watch. It was the disciple raised by your Shintiandao sect that colluded with the aboriginals in the immemorial path and slaughtered your own people, shouted the ancient race's king. Does that have anything to do with you? It was our own people, so who do you think you are? Did you personally see me do that? Long Chen cut him off. All the righteous experts are saying so. If others said you were my son, would you call me dad without hesitation? Long Chen cut him off once more. His words were hostile but still correct. Whether or not he had killed people from his own sect, it had nothing to do with the ancient races. As for the ancient race's king, he almost fainted from rage because of Long Chen's interruptions. But you also colluded with the aboriginals to slaughter my ancient race's elite disciples. Isn't that right? He roared. He, a grand king, was infuriated to the point where he quivered and his hair stood on end. Guaran and the others had to admire Long Chen's sharp tongue. Yes, this time you're right. But why did you have to release all these farts before this? Was it to make you sound righteous and just? Or was it because some of you just had to paint a certain person as an irredeemable villain so that you could have more justification? Sneered Longchen. No matter how you put it, you killed my ancient race's disciples. You can't twist that truth, can you? Everyone, let's calm down and discuss this. Why don't we sit and figure out this problem together? My Xiantiandao sect is famous amongst the righteous sects and has tens of thousands of years of inheritance. I trust everyone is aware of our reputation. If Longchen truly did do something wrong, we definitely won't harbor him from justice, said Li Changfeng. Hearing that, the three kings had no choice but to go along. Right now, it was no longer possible for them to forcibly bring Longchen away. They could only think of something else. They all descended from the sky, landing on the stage in front of the remote Heaven Plaza. The seats on the stage were all occupied by the kings. Longchen and the others could only stand below the stage. Longchen, tell us. Why did you kill so many people from the righteous path and so many ancient race experts? Asked Lu Minghan sternly and coldly. Ouyang Qiyu hastily cast a glance at Longchen. These were the same unspoken rules as for her. They would chide him a bit, but it was just for show. She was indicating for him to endure it, because Longchen hated this kind of thing. It was like he was a criminal. But for Ouyang Qiyu, he didn't retort. Shameful. Do you not know how to use polite honorifics? Who taught you how to speak to your seniors? Shouted Lu Minghan. According to regular etiquette, Longchen should have first bowed, then called him senior, and addressed himself as disciple. But Longchen didn't care about any of that. Pay attention to your tone. I respect you because of your position, which is high enough to preside over justice, but when it comes to your inner quality as a person, I loathe people like you, said Longchen icily. Ouyang Qiyu and the other experts from the Xiantiandao sect all jumped in shock. Longchen was absolutely obstinate. If an almighty king wanted to chide you a bit, why not just simply call him senior? Seeing that Longchen dared to contradict Lu Minghan, the Pill Valley's experts all smiled derisively. Chortling even rang out in the air, putting Lu Minghan on the spot. Little brute, you dash. Well, aren't you the old brute? Raged Longchen. Haha, Feng Xinglia couldn't help but laugh. Ling Yunzi also shook his head helplessly. Longchen's temper hadn't changed even after all these years. Courting death. Lu Minghan was absolutely infuriated. Originally, this should have been just an ordinary preamble, but before he could even ask anything, Longchen cursed at him and made him want to explode. What? You want to attack? That's good, I've been waiting for a while. Seeing Lu Minghan stand up, Feng Xinglia also stood, patting his sword hilt. Everyone calm down a bit. It's hot today, so it's easy to lose your temper. Ha, Longchen, why don't you explain what happened in your own words? Said Li Changfeng. In truth, he was bitterly smiling inside. This junior brother of his was extremely stern and icy. That was related to the fact that he was from the law enforcement hall, so his tone was naturally a bit overbearing. Normally, the ones he faced were just junior disciples. Those disciples had to endure whether they wanted to or not, but Longchen refused to accept that. If he wanted to use a berating tone, then he could accept that. After all, he was the senior. But calling him a brute was insulting his mother. He couldn't accept that, which was why he warned him to pay attention to his words. Then Lu Minghan refused to accept that and still cursed him. Longchen's fury had immediately erupted, and he directly cursed back. That made it so Li Changfeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was no way to resolve that, as it had been Lu Minghan that started things. If this continued, he would just embarrass himself more. So he hastily took over. I'm a bit mad right now and my head's messy. So I'll let my brother speak for me. Guoran, you can explain, said Longchen. He really was a bit angry. In fact, just now when Lu Minghan had cursed him, he had almost exploded. He found that he was getting more and more angered. His ability to control himself was weakening. Me? Guoran was a bit apprehensive. What? Do you not dare? Go bring out the bravery you have when you normally act like a poser, said Longchen. Guoran really was nervous. Kings were existences that didn't exist within the eastern wasteland. But as soon as he heard the word poser, his eyes brightened. That word gave him limitless courage. This matter happened like this. My boss is a godlike hero, a genius amongst geniuses, my boss is Long Chen. When we just entered the immemorial path, it went without saying that Guoran's tongue was also exceptional. Although he was a bit nervous at the beginning, he quickly became accustomed and a colorful story was painted by him loudly and smoothly. He explained everything about the enmity between them and the ancient races. From the beginning, it was always Yu Changhao provoking Long Chen. Later, the ancient races had continuously forced them into conflicts. All of this was explained in detail. All Guoran's words were true, and Long Chen didn't ask him to lie. There was also no need to lie. This explanation was no more than a formality, so Long Chen couldn't be bothered to do it himself. The Xiantian Dao sect was strong. Even if Long Chen said that he didn't like the way Yu Changhao looked and so he had killed him, the Xiantian Dao sect could come up with a million reasons to protect him. If Pill Valley was strong, then even if Long Chen explained how he had been wronged in a million ways, it wouldn't have a damn use. Whether or not he was in the right depended on power. All of this was just a bunch of senseless rules. But the righteous path liked to play this game, and they played it a lot. They liked to see who played better, who had a better strategy, or whose tactics were the most supreme. With Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglie standing by Long Chen, who would dare to touch his head? So Long Chen couldn't be bothered to play that game. But if they wanted to play, they could play by themselves. Since Guoran liked to be in the spotlight, he could play with them. From now on, Guoran would have an amazing story to brag about. When he was just at early sea expansion, he dared to tell a story to kings. After cursing them over and over, they didn't even dare to interrupt. Of course, who would believe him? Bastard, even if there was a conflict between the two of you, there was no need to slaughter all our elite disciples. You don't have a leg to stand on. Furthermore, I don't believe you. The ancient races are always neutral. We never bully others. Raged the ancient races king. According to Guoran's story, it was the ancient races that were too overbearing, willing to slaughter people for any random resources. The conflicts grew step by step all because of them. Do you have an illness? If you don't believe me, why listen to me explaining at all? You could have said something sooner and saved me the effort, Guoran cursed the ancient race expert. Brat, you're courting death, he raged. Temporarily put aside your anger. Although this is just a one-sided story, why don't you have some of your ancient race disciples tell their side? Said Li Changfeng. As soon as he said this, all the wily old foxes understood what he was doing. All the wily old foxes immediately understood Li Changfeng's words. The Xiantian Dao sect's attitude was to simply smooth things over and protect Long Chen. This was no investigation. When the ancient races brought out their own disciples to testify about what had happened, all that would happen was that both sides would criticize the other. They could make up all kinds of lies. After all, there was no third party to testify. It wasn't as if they could call out the aboriginals from the immemorial path. As a result, this matter would be smoothed over. At the very most, the Xiantian Dao sect might pay some compensation to the ancient races for them to bury their dead. Let's not talk about the ancient races for now. Long Chen killed so many people from the righteous path, and thousands of them came from my ancient family alliance. How do you explain that? Said the ancient family alliance's king. He wasn't stupid. Seeing that the Xiantian Dao sect wanted to protect Long Chen, he immediately tossed out what had happened with the righteous path. At the same time, he cast a glance to the remote Heaven Gang's patriarch. Ji Changkong immediately walked out and respectfully bowed, saying, reporting to seniors, this disciple has evidence here that proves Long Chen colluded with the aboriginals to kill righteous experts. Here is the photographic jade. Ji Changkong activated a photographic jade. An image of a battlefield appeared in the air. That battlefield was Drake Mountain. It revealed how Meng Qi had been fighting against righteous experts to save the aboriginals. Oh, why is there just that one girl? Where are the others and the other scenes? Asked Li Changfeng. Everyone was in a life and death battle, so it was only possible to record this little bit dash, said Ji Changkong. It's because if they show too much, it'll expose their secrets, sneered Guoran. Bullshit. Do you dare to let that woman come out and testify? Raged Ji Changkong. Long Chen, is this image real? Asked Li Changfeng. His meaning was obvious. Long Chen should say it wasn't real, and simply say that they were being framed. Then they could continue smoothing things over. It is. Long Chen nodded. Ha, what a good child. Then is there anything that isn't revealed in just this scene? Why did you collude with the Aboriginals? Li Changfeng couldn't help but laugh. His laughter was a bit helpless. He was sure Long Chen had understood his intentions, but he had still said this. He didn't know what drugs he was on. This doesn't count as colluding. Before this, my boss was chased down by countless experts led by Shui Yu and Yu Changhao because of his treasures. Guo Ran told them about how the Aboriginals had saved Long Chen after being chased down by those two. He didn't go into very much detail, but to sum it up, the Aboriginals were actually good people. Seeing Long Chen's heaven-shaking handsomeness was enough to cause gods and ghosts to weep. The Aboriginals had thought him to be a good person and saved him. They had become friends with him and very close ones at that. But when it came to how Ji Changkong had laid down a trap for Long Chen and intentionally drawn over the Aboriginals as bait, Guo Ran went into great detail. When he finally mentioned how Ji Changkong's trap had involved working together with the corrupt path to kill Long Chen, it immediately caused an uproar amongst the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. Ji Changkong, you shameless bitch, you're too despicable. Don't slander others. What proof do you have? We were cleaning up the traitors in the righteous path, and the corrupt path just happened to come. We had no relation at all, sneered Ji Changkong. Do you really think you handled things perfectly? Ji Changkong, you overestimate yourself. Do you think that other than you everyone else is stupid? Long Chen smiled slightly. A photographic jade appeared in his hand. He tossed it directly to Li Changfeng. He activated it, which revealed a scene in the air. Ji Changkong's expression changed. The first scene in this photographic jade was of the person he had sent to Shui Yu to establish their cooperation. Then more familiar faces appeared, all talking with corrupt path. They were clearly discussing the plan, and even he himself appeared in it. Bastard, this is fake. That person isn't me, roared Ji Changkong. Now he was afraid. He hadn't expected that this kind of scene had been recorded. In reality, this was something made by Shui Yu. Once his aide had been killed, this thing had been noticed by Qing Yu when she had gone through his possessions. That's not you? Okay, then it's not you. But there's also an image of both your armies gathering together. Tell me, how was I supposed to find enough fakes to set that up? Asked Long Chen lightly. Li Changfeng smiled. It was no wonder Long Chen was so calm. He had absolute proof in his hands. That photographic jade was like a knife that had viciously stabbed through the remote Heaven Gang's heart. Everyone was startled by it, and the patriarch's expression completely changed. Shouldn't the person from the remote Heaven Gang come out and say something? Sneered Lu Minghan. This matter was too obvious. All of this had been caused by the remote Heaven Gang, and not only had their scheme been brought to light, but the price of colluding with the corrupt path was the annihilation of the entire sect. You little bastard, you dared to do such a heretical thing. Unexpectedly, the remote Heaven Gang's patriarch roared furiously and sent a palm toward Ji Changkong. But as soon as he moved, Lu Minghan raised his hand. Spatial strength extended hundreds of meters, and the remote Heaven Gang's patriarch, a half-step king, became unable to move. Rashly killing someone before this matter is settled isn't good, don't you think? If he is wronged, wouldn't that make you feel embarrassed? Sneered Lu Minghan. He waved his hand. Runes appeared in the air, forming chains that bound the patriarch. Although he was a half-step king, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Seeing that, the other half-step king's expressions changed. They felt that this situation today was about to go very badly for them. Brother from Pill Valley, you were invited here to uphold justice, correct? Then please, go ahead and say your verdict. After all, for a member of my Xiantian Dao sect to be the judge would be inappropriate, said Li Changfeng. The Pill Valley king's expression was extremely unsightly, and the other two kings were about the same as well. The person from the ancient family alliance was especially irritated. Right now, he couldn't say a word. There was the ironclad evidence that Ji Changkong had led the righteous experts to collude with the corrupt path in order to kill Long Chen. There was no way to retort. Although those people had partially been used by Ji Changkong, and their deaths were a bit unjust, there was no reason for him to make things hard on Long Chen. The ancient race expert also had to shut his mouth as Yu Changhao had been part of the collusion. The three forces had joined hands to handle Long Chen. Although he hadn't been part of the attack on Drake Mountain, Guo Ran had revealed more images that were completely irrefutable. All his reasoning had been ruined because Ji Changkong had made a critical error that had even implicated the ancient races, so he didn't even know what to say. His people had been killed, but there was no good excuse for him to make things hard on the killers. The ancient races were always neutral. Cooperating with the righteous path or the corrupt path was taboo. Now that they had cooperated in a fight between the righteous and corrupt paths, their deaths were simply wasted. I didn't expect the Remote Heaven Gang to be so impetuous. The truth of this matter has come to light. Let the Remote Heaven Gang be disbanded, said the Pill Valley's king. Brother truly is wise. Li Changfeng smiled. He gave Pill Valley a way out of their embarrassing situation. Although now everyone was clear about what had happened, Li Changfeng didn't want to ruin the Xiantiandao sect's relationship with Pill Valley. No matter how strong the Xiantiandao sect was, they still relied on medicinal pills. Although this person couldn't represent Pill Valley, it was best not to offend him either. Since that's the case, the Pill Valley's king understood Li Changfeng. He was giving him face, and he was just about to announce that the Remote Heaven Gang had been disbanded when he was cut off. It seems I am the victim, right? Pill Valley Senior, can you help me get revenge? Said Long Chen suddenly. The Pill Valley's king glared at Long Chen. He was starting to hate this brat, having an urge to crush him beneath his fingers. Long Chen had caused him to lose face by killing one of his disciples right in front of him. Now, he didn't even have an excuse to get revenge for that disciple. Although his expression was calm, killing intent was boiling within him. Long Chen, although you were wronged as part of the righteous path, you should be magnanimous. Only then can you accomplish bigger things, lectured the Pill Valley's king. Ignorant and unbearably coarse. Without this magnanimity, it's obvious he is nothing more than a butcher, sneered someone in the crowd. This person was one of the alchemists from Pill Valley. Seeing that Long Chen had caused a shocking reversal and was now proven innocent irritated him, so when Long Chen had contradicted his master, he had immediately sneered at him. The people on the stage were all kings, so he didn't have the qualifications to sit there. He could only stand below the stage, not far from Long Chen and the others. Although his voice wasn't loud, it was very clear to the surrounding people. The insulting tone within it was overflowing. Guo Ran's expression sank. He was just about to retort when a blood-colored light shot out suddenly. That person was blown to bits, splashing his fellow alchemists with blood. Long Chen's attack had come suddenly and unexpectedly. No one had thought he would dare to kill one of the Pill Valley's disciples right in front of a king. That was his second disciple slain. Long Chen lazily rested his saber on his shoulder and disdainfully looked at the Pill Valley's king. Sorry. Everyone was silent. Even the kings were dumbfounded. What did he think he was doing? Was this brat crazy? All he had done was insult him and he killed him? And right in front of his master? And he thought it would be okay with a sorry? Ouyang Chuyu's soul almost fled out of fright. She felt like she was going crazy. What was Long Chen planning? The Dragonblood warriors didn't bat an eye upon seeing one of the Pill Valley's experts be killed like a chicken. That kind of indifference to death made their blood boil. This was their boss. This was what it meant to be domineering. Guo Ran was clenching his fists, filled with worship. This was truly being badass. Killing one wasn't satisfying enough, so directly killing another was best. In truth, just speaking so frankly to a group of kings and even cursing a king to their face was enough to raise Guo Ran's posing realm. But he still couldn't be compared to Long Chen. Long Chen was the truly badass one. Even Ling Yunzi wiped his forehead, feeling a slight headache. This temperament of Long Chen's hadn't changed. Instead, he had only grown more crazy. Only Feng Xinglia nodded with delight. He almost clapped his hands and praised. In his opinion, this was how a man should act. But Li Changfeng and Lu Mingan's expressions changed. Long Chen clearly didn't know how to appreciate kindness. How could he do something so overboard? What they had done before had already calmed things down. With just a bit more, this whole matter would have been resolved. What did you say? The Pill Valley's king almost exploded. Flames erupted around him, and it felt like the whole world had ignited. He was truly furious. No, not furious. He was on the edge of exploding. Each of his words was spat out through clenched teeth. Sorry, said Long Chen very apologetically. Just sorry? He raged. I suppose. I've said sorry, and this matter is already over. Isn't it just one dead person? Don't be so petty. Stay calm. With your age, is it worth making such a fuss over such a small matter? Said Long Chen. What nonsense. You killed 2 of my disciples. I'll make you pay with your life. Pay with my life? Asked Long Chen. You killed someone, so you have to pay with your life. Are you an idiot? No, just because you kill someone doesn't mean you have to pay with your life. Although you've suffered wrongs and 2 of your disciples have died, you should be magnanimous. Only then can you accomplish bigger things, advised Long Chen. Everyone looked oddly at the Pill Valley's king. These were the same words he had said to Long Chen. Now they understood why Long Chen had killed that person. It was to shut his mouth. He really was brazen. When I first joined the Xiantian Dao sect, my sect leader told me a certain thing. When others don't understand anything and simply advise you to be magnanimous, you should maintain your distance from them, because when they're killed, they'll splash you with blood. Back then, I was too young to understand. But now that I think about it, the principles behind it are truly profound. Sect leaders' wisdom truly is as vast as an ocean. Long Chen looked at Ling Yunzi with heartfelt admiration. Did I ever say something like that? Ling Yunzi was stunned inside. But then he quickly understood Long Chen was using him, pulling him down with him. Brother, this principle of yours truly is profound. With just a glance, I can tell you're erudite. Truly worthy of praise. Feng Xinglia gave Ling Yunzi a big thumbs up. Ling Yunzi bitterly smiled. He had never said anything like that, but he also couldn't explain. He could only go along with Long Chen. Long Chen, you did this on purpose? The Pill Valley's king glared at Long Chen, filled with killing intent. No, I wouldn't dare to admit to that. Let me just say it again, this matter is already in the past, and people should be magnanimous so that they can do bigger things. Only like this can people work together sincerely and raise each other to greater heights. As part of Pill Valley, I'm sure you understand this principle. Could it be that you advised me to be magnanimous, but you aren't magnanimous yourself? If even you can't be magnanimous, how do you expect me to be? You should lead by example, said Long Chen. You're just twisting words. This was people's first time feeling a trace of sympathy for that old man. Looking at how his hair was standing on end, they didn't know if he would directly die of anger. The Pill Valley's disciples had finally learned their lesson and backed further away. They also didn't dare to say anything. I'm twisting words? But then what about you? Just because a few of your disciples were killed, you want me to pay with my life? But when so many of my companions died because of Ji Changkong's schemes, you wanted me to be magnanimous. Is your head full of shit? You think just disbanding the Remote Heaven Gang is enough to quell my hatred? You're just going to let these murderers roam the world? Why should you be allowed to stop me from getting revenge? Because you're a king? Because you're stronger than me? Just because your position is higher than mine, you can rule over everything? Fuck the hell off. Old bastard, let me tell you, I've seen far too many of you idiots who like to put on a sanctimonious appearance while clearly having filthy goals. Just looking at you disgusts me. From the moment I came here, I didn't hope for anyone to save me. I don't fear death, so why do you think I'd fear an idiot like you? Toward the end, Long Chen's voice grew louder to the point that it shook the sky. Thinking of Little Snow's death caused his killing intent to surge beyond control. Calm down, Long Chen. We all know your grievances. Speak, what do you want? Said Li Changfeng helplessly. Long Chen was not an ordinary disciple right now. Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia supported him, and no matter what evil things he had done, they would protect him. Furthermore, the two of them were extremely powerful. Although they hadn't said anything yet, the Pill Valley's king was about to attack, and the two of them would not just sit still and watch. He didn't have a great understanding of Ling Yunzi, but he had a profound understanding of how crazy the madmen from the heaven-splitting battle sect were. They never talked reason. While the situation could still be controlled, he hastily opened his mouth. He felt a headache. In all his years, he had never seen a disciple like Long Chen. There was no way to suppress him. My requirements aren't high. Anyone here who raised their fists to kill me should be killed instead, said Long Chen. A cold gasp escaped from everyone. He wanted to kill essentially everyone from the righteous path. Long Chen, many of the people here are innocent. They were simply baited to come by the remote heaven gang, said Li Changfeng. He felt that Long Chen was going too far. Innocent? Ha, do you know how many people here clearly knew I was framed but still came out to suck up to the remote heaven gang? Do you know how many people don't give a damn about my innocence, with their only goal being to get a favor from the remote heaven gang? If the situation was reversed, once I was killed, would they think of the word innocent when they turned their butcher's blades toward the rest of the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples? Sneered Long Chen. Li Changfeng was stumped. As one of the higher-ups of the Xiantian Dao sect, he couldn't be biased toward the remote heaven gang. But if the remote heaven gang was disbanded and then all these righteous experts were killed, the Xiantian Dao sect's name would be tarnished. Let me tell you then, they wouldn't. They wouldn't hesitate despite knowing your disciples are innocent. They would cut off all our heads to show their loyalty to the remote heaven gang, making them the dominant power here. In this world, there aren't any innocent people, there are only greedy and foolish people. Greedy people know the truth but act like they don't, while foolish people simply don't know the truth but will still raise their blades with everyone else. They don't need to know the truth, all they need is to win the favor from the remote heaven gang. Those foolish people aren't worth pitying, as they have their own heads. If they can indiscriminately kill people without first determining the truth, can they get off unpunished? Can foolish people ignore other people's lives? Can foolish people randomly harm others? So being foolish is the reasoning of these innocents? Long Chen's voice resounded through the air, causing countless experts' expressions to change. Yes, by coming here to the remote heaven gang, they didn't care at all about whether or not Long Chen was innocent. Since they can slaughter my brothers, why can't I slaughter them? Suddenly, Long Chen's wings appeared and he shot into the sky. Two huge dragons flew out, releasing powerful roars. With Lei Long and Hua Long bringing out their true bodies, endless lightning and flame energy raged in the air. Icy killing intent erupted out of Long Chen. He was like an Azura who had come to reap lives. All the experts who had been invited by the remote heaven gang were horrified. A sensation of death welled up within them. Long Chen, you dare? The Pill Valley's king and Lu Minghan both shouted furiously. Long Chen was actually arrogantly ignoring their decision. Even Li Changfeng found it slightly hard to bear. Long Chen was too obstinate and didn't even give face to kings. Seeing Long Chen filled with killing intent, Ling Yunzi sighed inside. It seemed there really was nothing Long Chen wouldn't dare to do in this world. There's nothing that I, Long Chen, don't dare to do in this world. If you have the power, then come and kill me. However, you don't have the power to change me. Even the heavens don't have that ability, shouted Long Chen. The two dragons coiled around Long Chen, constantly roaring. A powerful aura enveloped everyone present. Long Chen let us off. We didn't know you were framed. Please. Countless people were terrified by Long Chen's killing intent. Long Chen had two kings fully supporting him, and no one could force him to submit. If Long Chen wanted to, then they would all die. Originally, they were all people with high status and dignity, but in the face of death, that pride was broken and they begged for mercy. If those two seniors hadn't come to support me, then once I was killed, would you let off the 100,000 disciples of the Xiantian Dao sect when they begged for mercy? Roared Long Chen. The two dragons suddenly exploded in power. A powerful pressure crashed down on them, one that even caused the kings to change expression. They hadn't thought that Long Chen could release such a terrifying attack without a king item. Once that attack was released, then other than those who had reached half-step king, everyone else would be killed. Long Chen, if you kill this many people, you will be hunted down by the world's righteous path. Are you planning on becoming enemies with the entire righteous path? Shouted Li Changfeng. Although Long Chen was obstinate, Li Changfeng truly felt he was a good sprout. Even if he was placed in the Central Plains, he could release his brilliance. He couldn't bear to see Long Chen commit such an offense. If Long Chen only killed the ringleaders, then that was fine. But killing this many, especially when they were all from the righteous path, would make it so even the Xiantian Dao sect couldn't protect him. In fact, they might even have to personally execute him. He didn't want to see a genius fall like that. Ling Yunzi only calmly watched. He didn't say anything nor did he do anything to stop him. He didn't even express his point of view. He was the one who understood Long Chen the most. Divergence could never walk a normal path. It wasn't odd for them to do all kinds of crazy things. Feng Xinglia's eyes were shining. This unbending stubbornness of Long Chen's was what he liked the most. He was already holding his sword hilt and made his determination known that no matter what anyone said or did, he would bring Long Chen back to the heaven-splitting battle sect. Do the two of you not want to say anything? Li Changfeng turned to Ling Yunzi. He couldn't be bothered to ask Feng Xinglia, as he knew that was useless. Ling Yunzi shook his head. No one can change the things that Long Chen decides on. It's just like he said, you can kill him, but you can't change him. In any case, no matter what trouble Long Chen causes, I will help him shoulder it. Even if it costs me my life. Li Changfeng sighed. He no longer tried to change his mind. He had already done everything he could. If Long Chen wanted to obstinately do things his way, he had no way to stop him. He could only watch as such a heavenly genius was destroyed. He was full of pity. Long Chen stared at the terrified faces below. But thinking of Little Snow's death, he felt a stabbing pain in his heart. Back then was the same as now. Ji Changkong had gathered a group of celestials from the righteous path, and they also hadn't cared whether or not Long Chen was framed. They had just wanted to suck up to Ji Changkong. Although Little Snow hadn't died to their hands, they couldn't escape the fact that they were related. They were accomplices in his death. If there is another life, I would want to be with you again. Those were Little Snow's final words to Long Chen before dying. It was just one sentence, but it contained boundless emotion and longing. Long Chen would never be able to forget that pain. Die. Long Chen's eyes were scarlet as he activated the Double Dragon destruction. He was going to kill all the helpers the remote Heaven Gang had gathered. Long Chen, don't. This isn't you. A graceful figure flew in front of Long Chen, her white robes and long hair fluttering in the wind. Appearing like an immortal from a painting, she stood right in front of him. Meng Qiyu. Long Chen was startled and hastily stopped his attack. Long Chen, release your hatred. Your hatred has blinded you, turning you into a completely different person. If you really kill them, you won't feel any better. You'll just feel more pain. In truth, you also know that if they truly were wicked beyond redemption, then you wouldn't have hesitated for so long. You would have killed them without a frown. But you hesitated, unable to do so because you still have a kind conscience inside you. You're trying to wipe that conscience away, but you can't. You're simply trying to use the hatred from Little Snow's death to force yourself into becoming a heartless killer. But it's useless. You are kind inside, and once you kill them, it will just cause you to feel more lost. The yardstick upon which you judge your own morality will be broken, and you won't be able to find your life's goal. Long Chen clenched his fists. It was Meng Qi who understood him the best. Pain filled Meng Qi's eyes. She gently stroked Long Chen's sharp and determined face. We know the pain in your heart, so we don't want you to feel more pain. Killing these people is simple, but it won't erase the pain of Little Snow's departure. Let them off, not because you pity them, or because you're lowering your head to anyone, but because of your brothers and sisters. Each one of us will not hesitate to fight to the death for you, but none of us want to see you hurt. Only once you choose to release them will you regain your freedom, allowing you to walk down your endless cultivation path. We all still have many things to do. If you just keep accumulating burdens on your back, sooner or later, you'll collapse. Releasing those burdens is also putting down the burden in your heart. Boss, just treat them like a fart. They're useless and will forever be useless. We just need to settle the bill with the ringleaders. Boss, someone as grand as you doesn't need to set yourself against a group of ants. I'm sure Little Snow also wouldn't want you to do such a thing, said Guaran. Boss, just have them scram. We're still waiting for you to lead us to greater heights, shouted the Dragonblood warriors. Long Chen looked at Meng Qi. He saw endless warmth within her beautiful eyes, warmth that made his heart feel less pain. He recalled the two dragons. The atmosphere that had been like a taut bowstring instantly relaxed. Those quivering righteous experts collapsed on the ground. Only now did they realize they were covered in sweat. They were all delighted. It seemed that they would escape with their lives. Thank you. Long Chen tightly hugged Meng Qi. With his face in her hair, smelling her scent, he felt a sense of peace and content he hadn't had since Little Snow's death. Meng Qi's words were absolutely right. He had already started becoming bedeviled. Little Snow's death had filled him with pain. Although he had slaughtered experts from all sides in the immemorial path, the fury in his heart hadn't lessened at all. Upon returning to the Martial Heaven continent, he first exterminated hundreds of thousands of experts from the corrupt path, and then even used the Eastern Wasteland Bell to slaughter the ancient race's elites. According to reason, after killing this many people, the hatred in his heart should have gradually faded. But instead of feeling relieved, he just felt more hatred. Meng Qi allowed Long Chen to realize that a problem had already occurred in his heart. If he continued killing, it might become irreversible. Then he would sink down to become a bloodthirsty berserk devil. He would never be happy no matter how many people he killed. If Long Chen wasn't able to be happy, then the people by his side wouldn't either. His pain was all their pain. For his brothers and sisters, he had to put down the burden in his heart. He still had a long path to walk in the future. Meng Qi tightly held onto Long Chen, her eyes misty. Long Chen had suffered a great deal, but he had bottled up it inside, refusing to share any part of it. He was the soul of the Dragonblood Legion. He was carrying an incredible weight on his shoulders. If it was anyone else, they would have long since crumbled under the pressure. But Long Chen carried that weight without complaint or regret. Long Chen was just a human. There were times where he felt sorrowful, helpless, and hesitant. But Long Chen continued to bring them charging forward courageously. On the other hand, they were unable to help him much. Meng Qi sometimes hated herself for being useless and unable to help him more. Seeing that Long Chen had given up on his attack, Li Changfeng sighed with relief. Ling Yunzi, on the other hand, acted as if none of this had anything to do with him. As his comprehension into the Sword Dao grew deeper, he was becoming transcendent, isolating himself from mundane things. You were stopped by a woman? Still not unyielding enough, muttered Feng Xinglia. He let go of his sword hilt. The three kings who had come to bring Long Chen away were all disappointed. They had all wished for him to attack. Everyone else can leave. But the remote Heaven Gang's people must remain behind. Of course, that includes the traitors from the Xiantian Dao sect, said Li Changfeng. The remote Heaven Gang's patriarch, Ji Changkong, Ji Hongling, and the others turned ashen. Everyone from the remote Heaven Gang turned pale. But they rejoiced to see that Li Changfeng only picked out a few ringleaders who had participated in this matter, including the patriarch, Ji Changkong, and a few dozen others. As for the Xiantian Dao sect's traitors, they didn't even have a place to cry. Zhao Wuji tried to kill himself, but he didn't prevail. He and Yu Qianshan would have to endure the Xiantian Dao sect's #1 punishment. Thinking of the 5-heart living lotus, the two of them fainted. They despaired. As for the other disciples, although they weren't to suffer that #1 punishment, betraying a sect was a grave taboo. They would definitely die. Unfortunately, death was a blessing they wouldn't receive. Once everyone had been escorted away, the only one remaining was Ji Changkong. Long Chen stood in front of him. Do you have anything to say? Long Chen, you brute, if you have guts, then kill me. You dash, sneered Ji Changkong arrogantly. Pow! Guoran slapped him in the face. But without his armor, it was his own hand that ended up hurting. You want me to kill you in a fury? You really like to scheme. There's no saving you, said Long Chen indifferently. Not good. Suddenly, Ouyang Chuyu let out a startled cry. The jade plate on her waist was rapidly flashing. Someone's attacking the Xiantian Dao sect. Ah, Long Chen, you were still one move too slow. Even if you kill me, so what? Your Xiantian Dao sect has been razed to the ground by Shui Yu and the others. You won't be able to kill me, but I've killed every last dog remaining in your Xiantian Dao sect. Ji Changkong crazily laughed. Lu Mingan's expression sank. You actually colluded with the corrupt path to harm my Xiantian Dao sect? Old fool, Long Chen really was right to curse you as an idiot. I've long since colluded with the corrupt path, so why wouldn't I collude with them again? I had a grasp over all the Xiantian Dao sect's movements from the start. Originally, the ones that came here should have been attacked and killed, while the corrupt path destroyed the Xiantian Dao sect's foundation. Regretfully, we lost. But so what? Tens of thousands of your Xiantian Dao sect's disciples are about to die because of me, haha. Laughed Ji Changkong. Courting death. Lu Minghan extended his hand, about to kill him. But Li Changfeng held him back. Killing Ji Changkong now was letting him off too easily. Fury can't resolve problems. Let's hurry over to the branch sect. Li Changfeng waved his hand. A mile-long flying boat appeared and everyone hastily jumped onto it. What Li Changfeng hadn't expected was for not only Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia to get on, even the other three kings got on. The flying boat wasn't able to fit everyone. In the end, they only brought along their peak fighters, such as the monastery heads and the Dragonblood Legion. At the same time, they brought Ji Changkong and the others. Long Chen was surprised to see that this flying boat didn't really fly. Instead, it tore straight through space. Spatial transportation? Long Chen was startled by this capability. In truth, the only reason why it was capable of this was because the Xiantian Dao sect's coordinates were recorded within it. This speed was much greater than flying, but to bring this many people back to the Xiantian Dao sect would require at least an incense stick's worth of time. Thinking of how the defenses of the Xiantian Dao sect were currently, everyone knew that it wouldn't even be able to last a few breaths. This incense stick's worth of time was too long. Haha, I really want to see what your expressions will look like once you see your home covered in corpses and burned to the ground. Ha, ah. Ji Changkong laughed until Long Chen hit him in the face. He also broke his jaw, making it so he couldn't speak. Ji Changkong let out a pained groan, no longer able to laugh. Long Chen inserted his spiritual yuan into Ji Changkong's body. Ji Changkong immediately felt his body become much more sensitive. Before Ji Changkong could even prepare himself, a foot landed on his crotch. An indescribable pain, magnified 10 times, tore through his body. He spasmed, curled up, and then stiffened. His body continued to twitch, and a certain vein popped up on his forehead, looking like it might explode at any moment. His eyes were protruding out of their sockets. I didn't expect that your appearance could become so overflowing. So talented. Long Chen icily stared at Ji Changkong. He pressed his foot on his jaw and then gently pushed down. The sound of bones breaking made everyone's hair stand on end. That sound of bones grinding against each other even made the kings appear unnatural. This kind of torture was too vicious. They could all tell that Long Chen had used a secret art to amplify Ji Changkong's senses, making his sense of pain 10 times greater. In such a scenario, just being pricked by a needle would feel unbearably painful. Ji Changkong, due to my beautiful wife's enlightening words, I've become magnanimous. As long as you endure the 5 heart-living lotus punishment, I can leave the enmity between us as is. However, your mouth is so filthy, and you actually want to infuriate me, so I kill you. So if you want to play, I will play with you. A cruel smile appeared on Long Chen's face. Meng Qi blushed and rapped Long Chen a few times. He was always so crass without paying attention to the situation. But the fact that he was talking like this meant he had returned to his old self. He had walked out of the shadow of Little Snow's death, allowing her to sigh with relief. Long Chen continued, Did you think I wouldn't see through your little scheme? I'll show that the Xiantian Dao sect that is still the same as ever, with each one of its disciples safe. However, your mouth is irritating, so I've decided not to listen to you any longer. You can just sing instead? Yes, just like that. Although that grunting is very irritating to listen to, it's much better to listen to than when you talk. Everyone cast a sympathetic glance at Ji Changkong. He could have provoked anyone, but he provoked Long Chen. Wasn't that just asking for it? Bones ground, and Ji Changkong's pained grunts continued to ring out. The Dragonblood warriors were fine, as Long Chen had long since led them onto a different kind of path. But even the kings found this a bit unbearable. That sound was like nails on a chalkboard. It was an indescribable, hateful sound. Guoran, come over and try it. My foot is getting tired, said Long Chen. Guoran hastily went over and imitated him. He stamped his foot on Ji Changkong's jaw, causing him to instantly vomit blood. Fool, pay attention to your power. Use the tip of your foot and evenly distribute your power, rubbing back and forth. With Long Chen's guidance, Guoran quickly grasped the quintessence of it. That hair-raising sound once more began. The Pill Valley's king almost couldn't bear it. Several times he opened his mouth, but no sound came out. This sound was driving him crazy, but he was afraid of Long Chen cursing him once more. Long Chen was like a dung-covered stone. He was both smelly and hard. He dared to curse even his sect's higher-ups. That was why he, the ancient race's king, and the ancient family alliance's king all didn't make a sound. They simply acted as if they were busy concentrating on something inside. They even suspected that with Long Chen's ruthlessness, even if Ji Changkong died, he might still torture his corpse. In all their years of cultivation, they had seen countless people. But they had never seen such a domineering youth. Domineering wasn't even enough to describe it. At early sea expansion, he didn't even place kings in his eyes. That was absolutely crazy, and their first time seeing such a thing. Suddenly, the sky brightened. They flew out of space, appearing right outside the Xiantian Dao sect. When they appeared, they saw a couple hundred foundation forging experts crazily attacking the Xiantian Dao sect, as well as 5 half-step kings guarding the outside. There were also 2 elders standing the air, letting loose runes that crazily attacked the Xiantian Dao sect's protective formation. Those 2 were shockingly kings. Li Changfeng and the others were stunned upon arriving. They had been prepared to see the Xiantian Dao sect destroyed and its attackers fleeing upon seeing them. In that case, the only thing they would be able to do was to launch a vicious counterattack. But seeing 2 kings attacking the formation with it only trembling, not breaking, they were shocked. Furthermore, those 2 kings were sweating. They had clearly been attacking for a long time. Are the Xiantian Dao sect's protective formations all so terrifying? The Pill Valley's king was stunned. He hastily circulated his spiritual strength to probe the formation. Yuan Spirit Stones. There are actually so many Yuan Spirit Stones. He saw Shui Wuhan within the Xiantian Dao sect, with thousands of Yuan Spirit Stones being arranged according to a certain pattern around her. That was the core of the protective formation. With Yuan Spirit Stones supporting it, the protective formation was strengthened over 100 times. Even kings needed time to break it. All the kings were moved by the Yuan Spirit Stones. Those were exceedingly precious existences within the martial heaven continent. The 2 corrupt paths kings saw the huge flying boat suddenly appear with a mass of kings on it and were shocked. Run! The corrupt path's 2 kings didn't even think before turning to flee. Rumble! A huge broadsword crashed down toward them. This was Feng Xinglia's attack, and it felt like the world was filled with this sword. Whether you went into the heavens or dove into the earth, you couldn't possibly dodge it. All the kings were startled by Feng Xinglia's power, especially the kings from Pill Valley, the ancient races, and the ancient family alliance. Although their cultivation bases had all reached the king realm, in terms of actual combat power, practically no one could challenge the heaven-splitting battle sex fighters. Split the heavens 3. Both the corrupt kings were drawn into his attack. The 2 of them hastily activated their king items to block. Space exploded. Everyone was shocked to see their king items both shatter from just this one attack. The ancient race's king gulped. He thanked his luck that he hadn't provoked Feng Xinglie, or he would definitely have died. The two corrupt kings coughed up blood. One of them suddenly took out a yellow talisman and crushed it. Not good, it's a heaven-fleeing talisman. Li Changfeng instantly recognized the rune. That was a treasure that had circulated down from ancient times. Such talismans were things that practically no one could make in the current era. If he wasn't full of despair, that king also wouldn't have had the heart to waste such a treasure. Feng Xinglie refused to believe it and once more attacked. But inconceivably, his attack went right through the two of them. It was like they were just a shadow. His attack was unable to reach them. One of the corrupt kings sneered, "Shintian Dao sect, just wait. We'll return." After crushing the heaven-fleeing talisman, they were surrounded by strange runes. Space began to twist, and it was possible to see that they were about to be teleported away. Suddenly, the sound of a sword coming out its sheath rang out like the roar of a dragon. A blinding light pierced through the void. Those two corrupt kings were both blown apart. The soft snick of a sword returning to its sheath sounded in everyone's ears. They all looked in shock at Ling Yunzi. That attack had come from him. They didn't dare to believe it. His attack was able to ignore spatial fluctuations and break the heaven-fleeing talisman? Although sword cultivators were supposed to be the #1 attackers, Ling Yunzi's sword seemed to have already reached a higher realm. That kind of realm was something none of the other kings here could touch. Everyone, there's no need to be so surprised. Junior Sword Dao is a bit special and has a special effect against that kind of spatial energy, explained Ling Yunzi calmly. Although he was calm, the other kings' hearts clenched. That sword attack of his was absolutely horrifying. It was full of destructive will that no one could block. Although Feng Xinglie's attack had also been amazing, its power was within the scope of their understanding. But Ling Yunzi's attack made them see something from a higher realm. "Do you really think you can escape now? Shui Yu, do you think I'm not here?" The deaths of their two kings caused panic amongst the corrupt experts. They fled in every direction, but by this point, that was not possible. Long Chen ignored everyone else and arrived right in front of Shui Yu, blocking his escape route. The corrupt path's half-step kings were killed by a random blow from Lu Minghan. But after killing the half-step kings, he stopped. He didn't kill the foundation forging experts. Guoran and the others charged forward. Their surging morale that was supposed to have been used against the remote Heaven Gang now ended up on the corrupt path. Long Chen, Shui Yu stared at Long Chen with terror. Double dragon destruction. Long Chen didn't waste any words. He directly unleashed his strongest attack, and Shui Yu immediately vomited blood. A scale-covered hand then slammed onto Shui Yu's body, directly blowing him apart. His soul was also extinguished. Long Chen was all too familiar with Shui Yu's techniques. Originally, even if he had wanted to kill him, it would have taken a few exchanges to do so. But Shui Yu had been too terrified of him to even fight back. As a result, he was killed in an instant. Long Chen found it a bit unexpected that he had killed him in one blow. He also found it a bit hard to accept. Standing in the air, he sighed. He should be happy to have killed Shui Yu. Little Snow's death was now fully avenged, and he could put down the burden in his heart. But in reality, he had already put down that burden after Meng Qi's plea. So he didn't know what he was feeling now that he had killed Shui Yu. The chief offenders had been killed, but Little Snow hadn't been revived. Meng Qi's words were right. The only reason he had wanted to kill so many people was to vent. He wanted to numb the pain and guilt he felt for Little Snow. Although Little Snow had died, there was a chance for his revival. The body wouldn't be his, but the soul and memories would remain. Then Little Snow would be the same Little Snow. Long Chen suddenly felt as if he was incredibly weary. He needed to change his tempo, or with this kind of mental state, there was no way for him to deal with future challenges. He had to find his hopeful and energetic self. Kill! Suddenly, a furious roar brought him back to reality. He saw Wild summon the barbarian blood bronze body and kill a foundation forging expert. Meng Qi, Tang Wana, Gu Yang, Guoran, Yu Zifeng, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan were also going all out. Even the Dragon Blood warriors were in the fray. Seeing all these incredibly powerful disciples battling across realms as if it were easy made Li Changfeng feel like flowers were blooming in his heart. He hadn't expected that this eastern wasteland branch of the Xiantian Dao sect would give birth to such a terrifying batch of disciples. That was especially true of Meng Qi, Gu Yang, and the others. They were killing Foundation forging experts easily. In fact, these disciples might even be a match for the head sect's elites. Ling Yunzi stood there with his hands clasped behind him. From the start, he only had eyes for Yu Zifeng. At this point, Yu Zifeng had killed over 10 Foundation forging experts. Other than Wild, he was the one who had killed the most experts. That clearly showed the terrifying attack power of sword cultivators. Over 200 Foundation forging experts from the corrupt path didn't even last a couple of hours before being exterminated to the last. Not one of the Dragon Blood warriors had died. That kind of combat power was shocking. Since everyone has come so far, why not have a chat inside the Xiantian Dao sect? Said Li Changfeng. Then we'll disturb you. The Pill Valley's king immediately agreed. Feng Xinglie and Ling Yunzi also agreed. Seeing that their sect master had returned with this group of unfamiliar people, the disciples that had remained in the Xiantian Dao sect were all confused. Big sister, it's been hard on you. Long Chen smiled at Shui Wuhan after she dissipated the barrier. Wuhan, let me introduce you. These two are seniors from the head Xiantian Dao sect, said Ouyang Chuyu. Disciple greets seniors. Shui Wuhan quickly bowed. It's fine, go back and rest. Chuyu, you and Long Chen come over. Let's talk, said Li Changfeng. As a result, the three kings from Pill Valley, the Ancient Races and the Ancient Family Alliance, as well as Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglie, were invited inside the palace within the Xiantian Dao sect. They all sat down. In this kind of situation, let alone Long Chen, not even Ouyang Chuyu would normally be allowed to participate. But Li Changfeng had grasped Long Chen's temperament. He didn't dare to make him stand, or he didn't know what would happen. Compared to Long Chen, Ouyang Chuyu was trembling in fear. But Long Chen didn't stand on courtesy, sitting in a chair without a care. He knew a good show was about to start. Li Changfeng started things off, saying, due to Long Chen's matter, everyone has rushed over here from so far away. I, Li Changfeng, will represent the Xiantian Dao sect in thanking you all for your care. The three kings from Pill Valley, the Ancient Races, and the Ancient Family Alliance said a few courteous words. But Feng Xinglie refused to play along with this, impatiently saying, we're all busy, so if you have something to say, hurry up and say it. After I say a few final words to Long Chen, I have to be on my way. His words were coarse, but Li Changfeng didn't get angry because of them. He knew that the heaven-splitting battle sex people were simply like this. Even when speaking to their elders, they spoke like this. All right then. To save everyone's time, I'll get to the point. Do the brothers from Pill Valley, the Ancient Races, and the Ancient Family Alliance have anything to suggest on how Long Chen's matter was handled? Asked Li Changfeng. The three kings exchanged a glance. It was the Ancient Races king who said, the Ancient Races always developed peacefully without interfering with the righteous path. We've been harmonious for many years. But this time Long Chen went too far. Even if he had conflicts with the Ancient Races disciples, he could have simply said them out loud and everyone could have properly resolved their grievances without killing. Furthermore, he killed far too many dash. A snickering sound from Long Chen caused him to come to a sudden stop. We could have resolved our differences with words? Who do you think your Ancient Races are? They were absolutely tyrannical within the immemorial path, forcing aside anyone who found treasures before them, and if they resisted, they would kill them. Do you not know the character of your Ancient Race disciples? Although you claim to be neutral, just how many outrageous acts have you committed? A wolf shouldn't act like a sheep. Sneered Long Chen. Long Chen. Ouyang Chuyu pushed Long Chen lightly, meaning that he should take it easy. The Ancient Races king's expression sank. Even if the Ancient Races were in the wrong, you can't just slaughter them all. Did I slaughter them all? Didn't I leave you with quite a few? Long Chen smiled icily. Quite a few, my ass. Tens of thousands entered, but only a few thousand escaped. Furthermore, not one of the peak experts remained. He raged. So what? The winner is king, and the loser is nothing. If I lost, not one of my people would have lived. By not killing all of them, I was already being nice to your ancient races, said Long Chen indifferently. You're absolutely shameless. You didn't kill them all because you didn't have that chance. Considering how vicious you are, if you had the chance, you wouldn't have let any of them live. You're not me, so how would you know that? Didn't I end up releasing the righteous experts in the end? Are your eyes too blind to see how I always repay enmity with kindness? Asked Long Chen. I? Do you still not know how to speak? Furthermore, don't point at me with your finger. Did your parents not tell you that pointing at people is rude? The ancient race expert was about to go crazy. When it came to power, 10 Long Chens were not his match. But when it came to a battle of tongues, 10 of him would still be toyed to death by Long Chen. He took a deep breath and forced himself to stay calm. Then when the ancient races later came to the Shentian Dao sect to reason things out, why did you kill them all? Reason things out? Are you sure your brain isn't made of crap? When you reason things out with others, do you first destroy their sect and torture their people? Those idiots from your ancient races were going to destroy the entire Shentian Dao sect. Instead of killing them, was I supposed to treat them to a meal? Are you sure your head is screwed on right? You know what, speaking of which, didn't you just say that even if others were in the wrong, you couldn't slaughter them all? So why didn't those ancient race experts just properly talk instead of wanting to kill us? When you try to advise others, you should first think about your own conduct, sneered Long Chen. The ancient race expert clenched his fists so hard that they turned white. He realized a cruel fact. When it came to eloquence, he wasn't even close to the same level as Long Chen. If this continued, he would just lose more face. He switched topics, shouting, "What did you use to kill them all?" Everyone's ears perked up. Back then, Long Chen had used the Eastern Wasteland Bell. That scene had been recorded with photographic jades. But the images recorded by the photographic jades were muddled and unclear. All it showed was a blinding flash of light. After that flash, the king items shattered and their wielders were killed. Those photographic jades had been transmitted popularly throughout the Eastern Wasteland. All the kings present had seen them and were very curious as to what that terrifying weapon was. That was just a fart, said Long Chen. Impossible. You're lying. It's the truth. When the air is bottled up for too long in the body, it will ferment and become another kind of energy. When the sunlight, wind, temperature, and atmosphere have all reached the perfect level, then adding on some exterior force, it's possible to release a heaven-shaking power, said Long Chen. What a fart, raged the ancient race expert. You're right, it really is an amazing fart. With this one fart, I killed your ancient race experts. Long Chen nodded. He naturally wouldn't say anything about the Eastern Wasteland Bell. He was just trying to infuriate this bastard. Before leaving, the Eastern Wasteland Bell had told Long Chen to keep its existence secret. Otherwise, it would bring boundless karma. Although he still didn't know what exactly the existence known as karma was supposed to be, he could sense the Eastern Wasteland Bell's kind intentions. So he chose to trust it, and he didn't say a thing about it. This irritating attitude infuriated the ancient race expert, but he was unable to do anything to Long Chen. So you refuse to tell the truth, is that it? I'm telling you the truth. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do about that. Long Chen shrugged. With Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia here, he didn't have anything to be afraid of. Ling Yunzi supported him 100%, and Long Chen was pleasantly surprised to find that he was a true expert amongst experts. He was worthy of being a sword cultivator. With such a powerful backer, if he really acted cowardly, then he wouldn't be Long Chen. In truth, the main goal for all these experts in coming here was to find out about that mysterious weapon. Any of their powers would go crazy to obtain such a treasure. But since Long Chen refused to say, the ancient race expert didn't dare to push him. The atmosphere became awkward for a long moment before Li Changfeng said, since Long Chen refuses to say, let's just let that be. After all, that's one of his personal secrets, and it doesn't threaten any sect. He can keep it secret without harm. Furthermore, that thing left as soon as it finished attacking. I'm sure with everyone's wisdom, you all deduce that someone like Long Chen is unable to control such a terrifying weapon. The Pill Valley's king said, we know that, but such a dangerous thing shouldn't be kept in a child's hands. Young people are impetuous, and who knows if in a fit of worry, whether or not he'll lose control of himself. We're doing this for Long Chen's own good. Long Chen was amazed by this level of shamelessness. They were clearly trying to find some clues regarding the Eastern Wasteland Bell's whereabouts, but apparently it was for his own good. Long Chen was just about to retort when Ouyang Chuyu viciously glared at him. That glare gave him a chill. Although Ouyang Chuyu was a half-step king with 1,000 years of experience, Long Chen's display today was making her worry that her soul would flee in fright. His conduct was pushing the limits of her imagination. Even as a youth, she hadn't dared to think of the things Long Chen was doing. The Pill Valley's king had clearly expressed that he wouldn't continue investigating, so she had an urge to put a stopper in Long Chen's mouth so that he couldn't continue speaking. Right now, she was praying for time to go faster so that these powerful kings would hurry up and leave. Each time a king got angry, she would be on the edge of her seat, afraid Long Chen would be killed with the swat of a palm. Many thanks, senior brother, for your kindness. Long Chen is young, and as his seniors, we didn't teach him properly, causing you to worry, laughed Li Changfeng. Long Chen was speechless. Seeing Ling Yunzi's calm face, it seemed he was used to this kind of thing and numb to it. As for Feng Xinglia, his mouth was curled into a mocking sneer. Is there anything else? If not, I'll leave first. My back has been bothering me lately. I'm tired, so I think I'll take a nap. Long Chen stood, stretching his waist and yawning. He really was tired. The pressure had been extremely great during this time. With Meng Qi's help, he finally relaxed, and only then was he able to sense how tired he was. Lu Mingan's expression sank. He was about to chide him when a look from Li Changfeng stopped him. He definitely didn't want to see Long Chen once more curse Lu Minghan in front of these people, nor did he want them to become any more hostile. He was already clear on Long Chen's temperament. He definitely couldn't be handled with ordinary means. Long Chen's decision to leave caused Li Changfeng to smile without saying anything. But the kings from Pill Valley, the ancient races, and the ancient family alliance all didn't know what to do. They looked at each other. The Pill Valley's king thickened his face and said, Long Chen, it seems you gained quite a bit in the immemorial path. Long Chen sneered inside. After he had come back from the immemorial path, the Dragonblood warriors had all become celestials. That was a shocking move, and Long Chen had long since expected someone would ask him about it. Patting some dust off his sleeves, he indifferently said, my gains were all right. I can just barely keep myself clothed and not hungry. I wonder, just how many Yuan spirit stones do you have? Asked the Pill Valley's king. Why do you want to know? Long Chen stared at him. Cough, what I mean is, if you do have more, I can represent Pill Valley to purchase a few, he added. Purchase? I doubt it'll be that simple. If I bring out the Yuan spirit stones, you'll ask me to compensate you. I killed your 2 disciples, I killed that many ancient race experts, and I killed so many disciples from the ancient families. But you want to purchase Yuan spirit stones from me? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Your people are dead, so you'll ask these 2 elders for some compensation. There's no way to further investigate your people's deaths, so you want to get a few Yuan spirit stones instead. For a person to be shameless to this extent, I really have to admire you. Were all your years of cultivation spent on thickening your face? I don't mind telling you that everything I have, I risked my life for. You want to take what's mine? Fuck the hell off. All your losses were caused by yourselves and are unrelated to me. Don't play this kind of game with me, because I'm not having any of it, sneered Long Chen. The 3 kings' expressions sank. Long Chen, pay attention to your words. Don't be rude, shouted Ouyang Chuyu. Inside, she grumbled. Just what was this little brat thinking? Even if he wanted to refuse, Couldn't he have just directly said that he didn't have any? But he just had to insult them. Those were kings he was insulting. Being disrespectful to them was a slap in their faces, and so Ouyang Chuyu was driven to anger. Courtesy is for reasonable people. But I can't be courteous to hypocrites wanting to kill me. These three came here with the excuse of avenging their dead, but it was all for my secrets. If it weren't for sect leader and third uncle, who knows how I would be captured, or even what torture I would be suffering. You want me to be polite to such people? It's just regretful my cultivation base isn't high enough, or I'd personally cut off their heads, said Long Chen indifferently. The three kings' expressions turned ugly. Of course what they wanted was Long Chen's secrets, but having that stated so openly infuriated them. Now they not only wanted to learn about the Eastern Wasteland Bell, but they also wanted the Yuan Spirit Stones. Yuan Spirit Stones were extremely precious in the Martial Heaven continent. Other than the Eastern Wasteland Bell and the Yuan Spirit Stones, the most important thing was how Long Chen had been able to turn ordinary people into celestials. That was an ability every power desired. Good brat, you have some courage. Just say it and third uncle will help you cut off their heads, laughed Feng Xinglia. Everyone jumped in fright. If such words had come from another person, they would think it as nothing more than a threat. But anyone who understood the heaven-splitting battle sect knew that these fellows didn't know what a threat was. If they said they would do something, they would do it. But Long Chen shook his head. Many thanks for your good intentions, but I'm a man. I will personally avenge my enmities. Li Changfeng sighed with relief. He really had been worried. One was young and impetuous, while one was incomparably tyrannical. They could do anything. Long Chen, you're slandering us. I, Lu Tianhua, am someone with status and prestige within Pill Valley. How could I possibly do something so immoral because of greed? Said the Pill Valley's king. The other two also glared at Long Chen, appearing infuriated. Now they even looked down upon Ouyang Chuyu a bit as well as Long Chen. Just now when Feng Xinglia had grabbed his sword, they had turned green with fright. But as soon as Long Chen refused, they once more displayed their insulted expressions. Lu Tianhua? Long Chen's eyes suddenly lit up and he sneered. Having stayed in the Pill Tower for quite some time, he had learned quite a few secrets from Chai Liehua and Fang Chong. The major matters of the Pill Tower were all reported to an elder Lu of Pill Valley. Thinking of that, Long Chen said, Lu Tianhua, you really are brazen. You ignored Pill Valley's rules to interfere with the mundane world's matters? Good, very good, I look favorably upon you. Nonsense, what are you saying? Lu Tianhua immediately became uneasy. He regretted reporting his name in his fury. He suddenly realized that when Long Chen had heard his name, his eyes had brightened slightly. It seemed he knew some things. Lu Tianhua, I'm not talking nonsense. I'm sure you know the best that if the remote Heaven Gang wanted to ask for help from Pill Valley, they would have to go through the Pill Tower. And the Eastern Wasteland's Pill Tower is supervised by you, Lu Tianhua. When you received the news, instead of reporting it to Pill Valley, you came here on your own in an attempt to get selfish profit, said Long Chen. Lu Tianhua was stunned. He hadn't expected that Long Chen would know so much. Even Li Changfeng and the others were startled, as even they hadn't known this. Who said I came here selfishly? I only came here due to the higher-ups' orders. I came here to mediate things with kindness. Long Chen waved his hand, cutting him off. Don't you think it's boring to spout such nonsense? You're the one most clear on the truth. Right now, you should just say your prayers. Pray that this matter doesn't grow any bigger. If your opponents learn about it, they'll inform the Pill Valley's higher-ups. Then your good days will come to an end. Although Lu Tianhua concealed himself well, everyone here, with the exception of Feng Xinglia, was a wily old fox. They all saw through some clues. Li Changfeng smiled, admiration in his eyes. He hadn't expected that Long Chen would know so much at such a young age. He was even able to handle Pill Valley's expert. Long Chen, don't talk rubbish. Brother Lu Tianhua came here with good intentions to mediate things. That kindness is something that blinds the sun and the moon. No matter how you put it, being peaceful is best for everyone. If we can turn a big matter into a small matter, and then just wipe away that small matter, wouldn't it be wonderful for all? said Li Changfeng. His words subtly implied that the three of them should not go too far. After all, Long Chen was standing on the right side of things, and the Shin Tiandao sect would protect him. He was essentially saying that if their attitudes were better, there might be some room for negotiations. But if they weren't, then they had better be prepared for this matter to blow up into a huge one. If they made things hard on the Shin Tiandao sect, the Shin Tiandao sect could also make things hard for them all. Li Changfeng's meaning was clear. Everyone should just try to peacefully discuss a way to let this matter be, and then this matter would be over. This counterattack of Long Chen's was extremely effective. The one Li Changfeng had been most worried about had been Lu Tianhua, but now Lu Tianhua was caught by Long Chen. He didn't dare to do anything more, so now this matter was easy to handle. Furthermore, Long Chen's guess was also entirely correct. In such a huge power like Pill Valley, who didn't have a bunch of opponents competing with them, Lu Tianhua was silent, indicating he was retreating from this matter. He had never seen a person like Long Chen. He was practically a madman. But the most terrifying thing was that this madman knew how to use his brain. Long Chen was someone who dared to do anything. Before he was assured of being able to kill him, he didn't want to provoke him further. As soon as they saw that he didn't speak, the other two kings sensed things had taken an unencouraging turn. The ancient race's king said, "No matter who is right or wrong, when you look at the results, it is my ancient races that suffered the most harm. Brother Changfeng, don't you think you owe us an explanation?" He didn't want to talk to Long Chen, as he had tasted the sharpness of Long Chen's tongue. A single sentence from him could choke him, so he'd rather talk to Li Changfeng. He represented the ancient races, and even if they were in the wrong, so many of them had died. That was a slap in the face to all the ancient races, and he had to gain back some prestige. Otherwise, the ancient race's dignity would be gone. The ancient races and ancient family alliances' kings had come with the approval of their higher-ups. If they didn't even dare to make a sound after suffering such losses, they would become the laughingstock of the cultivation world. Li Changfeng nodded. That is true. Just looking at the results instead of the course of events, it does seem like Long Chen went a bit too far. Long Chen was just about to open his mouth when Ouyang Chuyu pulled him by the neck and clamped a hand over his mouth, not letting him say a word. She was definitely afraid of Long Chen now. Li Changfeng pretended he didn't see Ouyang Chuyu's actions, continuing, "But after all, Long Chen is young. He's only in his early 20s, and his ability to understand right and wrong is still in the midst of developing. This matter can't be blamed on children. If someone needs to be blamed, then the only ones to blame are the older fellows like us. We didn't give enough care to our children. Long Chen, no matter what the reasons for your actions were, you killed too many people, and that's wrong. Even if it was justified, it's not justified to kill so many. For peace and harmony, split a few of your Yuan spirit stones with them as an apology. You shouldn't feel so aggrieved. As they're all people with status and prestige, they have to maintain their dignity no matter what. You'll understand when you grow up, so be a good child." Li Changfeng talked gently as if he was chiding a child and telling him to apologize. There was no way around that, as Long Chen was only amenable to soft coaxing like this. If he pushed him too hard, it would be over. Only then did Ouyang Chuyu let go of him, letting him speak. Looking at Ouyang Chuyu's beseeching expression, Long Chen sighed. "Fine, an arm can't beat a leg, and a man can't beat a pack of wolves. Considering the sect master's face, I'll bring out everything I have." A bitter expression of pain washed over Long Chen's face. The three kings were delighted. Long Chen had formed a relationship with the Aboriginals in the immemorial path, so they had definitely gifted him quite a few Yuan spirit stones. Just from the Yuan spirit stones supporting the Grand Protective Formation, it was clear Long Chen had to have an enormous amount. "Ah, thank you. You know, the truth is that we were all ordered by our higher-ups and had no choice but to come here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have thrown away our face to make things hard on a child," said the ancient family alliance's king. "Exactly, we were also forced. After all, we're all people with certain statuses, and we had no choice." I won't talk about it," said the ancient race's king. But the light shining in his eyes completely sold him out. Good child, we definitely won't let you suffer. If you need anything in the future, just send a message to Pill Valley. I, Lu Tianhua, will definitely come to support you. When Long Chen had said that he would bring out everything, Lu Mingan's expression had changed, and he had been about to say something when Li Changfeng stopped him with a look. Here, this is everything I have. From now on, we can unite and work together peacefully. Long Chen extended a hand, ignoring their nonsense. That pained expression was still on his face. When the three of them saw what was in Long Chen's hands, their applause and praise came to a sudden stop, and their expressions turned incredibly ugly. Are you trying to dupe us? The Lu character in Lu Tianhua is a different one from Lu Minghan. Sparkling Yuan spirit stones lay in Long Chen's hand. They were definitely Yuan spirit stones, as their specific spiritual Yuan seeped out of them. However, there were only 3 pieces of them in his hand. Just 3. The 3 kings glared at him, their eyes almost spitting flames. Thinking of how Long Chen had put on such a pained expression, then adding on their previous expressions of delight, these 3 Yuan spirit stones were a resounding slap in the face. Who has time to dupe you? Everything else I had was used on the protective formation. Now, I only have these 3. They're the only ones I have for my own use, raged Long Chen. The 3 of them didn't believe a word he said. He was clearly being a cheapskate, but they were powerless to do anything. Hand over your spatial ring and let us investigate it. If there really is nothing, we'll leave, said the ancient family alliance's king, his eye on the spatial ring Long Chen was wearing. Long Chen's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Fuck off, why should I let you investigate my spatial ring? It's mine." The 3 of them immediately assumed he had to have plenty of Yuan spirit stones in his spatial ring. The ancient race's king shouted, if you really were telling the truth, then hand over your spatial ring. If you really don't have any, we'll leave just like this. You really are intolerable bullies. Lu Tianhua, what do you say? Demanded Long Chen. Lu Tianhua immediately became stuck in an awkward position. Although he was greedy for Long Chen's Yuan spirit stones, he also felt that offending a madman like Long Chen wasn't a smart decision. The gains might not make up for the losses. But in the end, he stood with the other 2, thickening his face and saying, "Long Chen, don't make a fuss. It's rude to try duping people as prestigious as us." Ouyang Chuyu sighed inside. A small sea expansion brat had forced a king to this point, making it so he could only say such cowardly words. Perhaps only Long Chen was capable of that. Lu Tianhua continued, "But we won't bully you. You killed 2 of my beloved apprentices and exterminated countless members of the ancient races and ancient families' disciples. How about you just split us half the Yuan spirit stones in your spatial ring?" Li Changfeng nodded inside. Lu Tianhua had already conceded. Li Changfeng's guess was that since Long Chen could use over 1,000 Yuan spirit stones on the protective formation, he had to have at least around 10,000 Yuan spirit stones. Parting with half of them might be a bit painful, but Long Chen really had caused too much trouble this time. Even his heart was pounding hard. If this matter could be settled just like this, it was probably the best-case scenario. All right, those are your own words. Long Chen harumphed and took off his spatial ring, tossing it to Lu Tianhua. Lu Tianhua extended his divine sense into it, and his expression instantly became exceedingly ugly. This spatial ring was incredibly precious. It had reached the treasure item level. The space inside was dozens of miles wide, and there were even tens of treasure items inside it. The medicinal pills, armor, and materials inside were innumerable. There was a Yuan spirit stone inside. Yes, just one. It lay there, isolated and alone. Its sparkling light was like a silent laugh of derision. You're the one who said that you would only take half. Originally, I only had 4 Yuan spirit stones after setting up the grand formation, so now you have to give me back one of the 3 I gave you. Then I can properly hoard those 2 Yuan spirit stones, sneered Long Chen. Long Chen had long since expected such a scene. All his valuables were within the primal chaos space. This spatial ring was just bait for others. With just a thought, he could move items from the spatial ring to his primal chaos space. The spaces and treasures inside were essentially connected. To make his spatial ring seem more real, he had even added a few treasure items. But they were all garbage. Most of them were damaged. Considering what had happened in the immemorial path, it would only make sense for him to have some battle spoils. If he didn't even put one treasure item inside, it would appear fake. As for the treasure items obtained in the battle against the corrupt path, they had all been given to Ouyang Chuyu. The king items had broken, and Long Chen hadn't kept any of the treasure items. They had all been left for Ouyang Chuyu so that she could raise the Xiantian Dao sect in the future. I don't believe you. You definitely left your Yuan spirit stones on one of your confidants. Raged the ancient race's king when Lu Tianhua passed him the spatial ring. Idiot, Yuan spirit stones are spiritual treasures of heaven and earth. Only my treasure class spatial ring is able to just barely manage to store the Yuan spirit stones. The others don't have such a high-level spatial ring, sneered Long Chen. Hearing that, they realized it was the truth. Was that supposed to mean Long Chen only had this spatial ring? Then they would basically be leaving empty-handed. Furthermore, from his confidence, he didn't seem afraid of them investigating further. Then thinking of his feigned, changed expression, they all realized they had been duped. They had already promised that they would leave like this. To go back on their word was just smearing themselves. Which one of you was the one who said dash? Long Chen was just about to continue pushing them when Li Changfeng suddenly said, Long Chen, there's no longer any need for you to stay here. Bring our two guests to experience the Xiantian Dao sect's scenery. Don't neglect your respected guests. Li Changfeng also realized that no one could force Long Chen to spit out more Yuan spirit stones if he didn't want to. He directly began to act as if Long Chen really didn't have any more of them. There was no longer any need for Long Chen to stay here. This disobedient disciple should be sent off as quickly as possible. Only once he was gone would this matter be easier to settle. All right, then disciple will take his leave. Long Chen bowed slightly to Li Changfeng. After all, the feeling he got from Li Changfeng wasn't that bad. He was someone worthy of respect. Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia disapproved of this kind of negotiation, especially Feng Xinglia. He was sneering disdainfully at their display. The three of them left. Ling Yunzi said, Long Chen, you can accompany senior brother Feng for now. I came over here not just to see you, but also to see Zifeng. I'll go see him first. Once Ling Yunzi had left, Feng Xinglia patted Long Chen on the shoulder and said, Brat, you have some guts. I like it. Feng Xinglia greatly appreciated Long Chen. He had always thought only the heaven-splitting battle sect could raise a figure like him who was unafraid of heaven or earth. Third uncle, you came this time too? Probed Long Chen. Come, let's find a place to talk. Long Chen hadn't expected that the place Feng Xinglai would choose was a secluded valley outside of the Xiantian Dao sect. On the way, Long Chen learned that when Feng Xinglia had been roused out of meditation to go handle his matter, he had irritably started a fight with his senior who had ordered him. Unable to defeat the senior, he could only dejectedly come over. Hee, I was pretty pissed when I got here, but now I'm happy. I didn't expect you to be this mature, laughed Feng Xinglia. Third uncle, you rushed all the way here over for this little one? Long Chen was grateful. He hadn't expected the heaven-splitting battle sect to look after him so well. Don't talk about such useless things. The matter from the Jiuli secret realm has already passed. Our heaven-splitting battle sect protects its people, but that also depends on the person. Our disciples have to be tough and courageous. A greedy little fellow willing to work together with others to kill someone for greed can't count as a disciple of my heaven-splitting battle sect. The fact that you killed him is a good thing, or it's unknown how much embarrassment he would have brought to the sect in the future. That little fellow transmitted the second form of Split the Heavens to you last time, and he also received some benefits from you and returned to the sect. When he did, the sect found you to be a red-blooded man who cares for ties and relationships. And so it was decided that we would not pursue you for learning Split the Heavens. Furthermore, you were pretty good, killing expert after expert during this time. The higher-ups are satisfied, especially with what you did in the immemorial path. To tell the truth, the heaven-splitting battle sect needs fearless geniuses like you. Your ability to cause trouble is perfect. Even the old man said that although you haven't formally been accepted into the heaven-splitting battle sect, you will still be viewed as one of our disciples, said Feng Xinglia. Long Chen really hadn't expected the heaven-splitting battle sect to be so magnanimous and understanding. Instead of finding trouble for him because he had killed one of their disciples, they took him in as one of their own. Come, don't just stupidly stand there. Use the second form of split the heavens with your full power, said Feng Xinglia. Full power? What? Are you afraid you'll kill me? The stronger your attack, the better. If you satisfy me, I'll give you a pleasant surprise. Long Chen laughed at himself. What was he worrying about? Feng Xinglia was a king, and he wasn't able to threaten him. Then be careful. Long Chen took a deep breath. Taking out Blood Drinker, a fierce aura soared into the sky. Come, don't disappoint me. Long Chen's divine ring appeared behind him, for stars revolved in his eyes, and green scales covered his body. His aura continued to rise over time, causing intense rumbling. Good brat, you have some skill, praised Feng Xinglia. The reason he was so excited wasn't because of how powerful Long Chen's aura was, but because of that terrifying will erupting from the depths of Long Chen's soul. That will could shatter the world and perfectly accorded with the will of split the heavens. Split the heavens too. Not only had Long Chen summoned the 4-star battle armor, but he had also brought out the green dragon battle armor. His power was pushed to its absolute peak. Boom. Feng Xinglia let out a single punch, stopping Blood Drinker barehanded. A powerful chi wave blew Long Chen away. This is the power of a king? Long Chen was shocked. Long Chen felt like his arms were about to break. Although he had always had a high opinion of a king's power, he hadn't expected that he was still so much weaker. Feng Xinglia hadn't even taken out a weapon. Bare-handed, against his strongest attack, he injured him. The difference in power was like heaven and earth. Originally, Long Chen had thought that he would have the power to fight against kings once he consumed the Dragon Tiger Heavenly Explosion Pill. But that confidence was shattered by one punch from Feng Xinglia. Your arms didn't break? Your physical body is quite strong. Feng Xinglia's eyes shone as he looked at Long Chen. Third uncle's power is mighty. I'm completely convinced, said Long Chen sincerely. Hee, you don't need to be discouraged. In truth, my fist contained the power of my cultivation base. It was imbued with powerful spatial strength, so I'm surprised your arms didn't break, and you didn't even cough up blood. Don't blame me for being vicious. If I didn't test your true power, I wouldn't dare to transmit the 4th form of split the heavens to you, said Feng Xinglia. The 4th form. Long Chen was ecstatic. As his cultivation base grew, the 2nd form of split the heavens was no longer able to keep up with his power. With your power, cultivating the 3rd form of split the heavens should be no problem. But it's still not enough to cultivate the 4th form. Even I can only barely use it. However, it's unknown when I'll see you again, and since your physical body is this powerful, you should be able to cultivate the 4th form within 2 or 3 years, said Feng Xinglia. Thank you, third uncle. In truth, the split the heavens you've learned are nothing more than the superficial forms. My guess is that the first form you obtained is something that a traitor of the heaven-splitting battle sect took. We have many disciples that can come into contact with the first form, but only once you cultivate to the 3rd form will you learn the truth. After all, split the heavens is our most powerful technique. How could it be so easy to cultivate? Although you obtained the chi circulation portion and can use it, you haven't grasped the divine meaning of split the heavens. However, you, Long Chen, are truly talented. You know you have to go through all 18 acupuncture points in one go to use the 2nd form instead of pausing at the 9th. Furthermore, your will corresponds with the principles of split the heavens. Even without obtaining the divine meaning of split the heavens, you are able to release the 2nd form with such power. That's extraordinary. But although its power is immense, it's still not the true split the heavens. Today, I'll show you how to truly use split the heavens. Suddenly, Feng Xinglia took out his broadsword. He gripped it with both hands, his feet slightly apart. An invisible current of qi flowed around him. Look closely at how I circulate my spiritual yuan. Feng Xinglie's spiritual yuan gradually began to soar, and Long Chen clearly sensed its movements. It was circulating in the same way his own did. But when his spiritual yuan entered his acupuncture points, a faint rune would light up within them. When that rune lit up, his spiritual yuan would explosively grow in power. What are these? Long Chen was shocked. These are split the heavens divine runes. They are nourished within the acupuncture points. It's like you're raising experts within your body who will go all out to help you once you use split the heavens. Now be careful. Boom! Feng Xinglie's power burst forth. His spiritual yuan poured through 18 acupuncture points, growing in power 18 times. Split the heavens too. Feng Xinglie slashed his sword down at Long Chen. Break! Long Chen roared furiously, also slashing down with the second form of split the heavens. Both their moves were the same. But Long Chen was horrified to see that when his attack struck Feng Xinglie's sword image, it instantly shattered. Long Chen shot back like a shooting star, piercing straight through the mountain behind him. He almost vomited blood. This attack was absolutely terrifying. This attack is something I released with a C expansion cultivation base's power. Now you should understand why Split the Heavens is the priceless treasure of my heaven-splitting battle sect, said Feng Xinglie. Long Chen wiped off some blood at the corner of his mouth, a fervent look in his eyes. Split the Heavens was actually much, much stronger than he had imagined. The stronger it was, the more exciting it would be for him. Third uncle, teach me, said Long Chen. He was unable to control his own excitement. Yes, but before that there are a few things you must know. After learning Split the Heavens, you cannot transmit it to anyone. Hee, but that really is worrying over nothing. Without a body as powerful as yours and the heaven-splitting battle sect's unique cannon, others would simply kill themselves if they tried to use it, said Feng Xinglie. Getting back to the point, the old man told me not to investigate your secrets. So no matter what technique you use, the sect won't care. You just can't transmit Split the Heavens to others. Other than that, right now, you still haven't joined the heaven-splitting battle sect, but you are still one of our disciples in name. The heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples must be united like brothers. You can fight, you can mess around, but you can't be vicious to your own brothers. That is a grave taboo. I trust your character, but I am afraid you might lose control of your temper. So, if you do find some disciples from the heaven-splitting battle sect annoying, you can beat them, but you can't kill them, said Feng Xinglie. Don't worry, third uncle, I will never forget the kindness the heaven-splitting battle sect has shown me. I'm not someone who forgets kindness, said Long Chen. He was sure that the straightforward men of the heaven-splitting battle sect would be much easier to get along with than the people in the Shantian Dao sect. Furthermore, considering he was still in the Shantian Dao sect, he wouldn't have a chance to even interact with any disciples from the heaven-splitting battle sect. Furthermore, I can't be bothered to say so many useless words. In any case, I trust you. Open your soul to me. I will transmit the method for condensing and raising Split the Heavens divine runes. 6 hours later, even with Long Chen's powerful spiritual strength, he felt incredibly dizzy after being imparted Split the Heavens secret techniques. This was an extremely important part of Split the Heavens, and Feng Xinglie didn't dare to be careless. Not only did he transmit the core of the techniques, but he also added in his own experience and tips, as well as some taboos. Many thanks for this favor, third uncle Dash. Don't learn from those idiots and play around with these useless means. The heaven-splitting battle sect doesn't care for trivial things. If you're grateful, just remember it in your heart. Just saying thanks has no meaning. You've now learned the way to raise Split the Heavens divine runes. However, this is a very slow process. You must do it steadily. Once the divine runes grow strong enough, you'll see how strong Split the Heavens is. I've also transmitted the third and fourth forms to you, but remember, with your physical body, you absolutely cannot use the fourth form until you reach foundation forging. Otherwise, your body will explode, warned Feng Xinglie solemnly. Split the Heavens had harsh requirements when it came to a person's physical strength and energy. However, its requirements for a person's cultivation base were low. When Feng Xinglie had transmitted the technique to Long Chen, he had carefully examined his physical body and meridians. He found that Long Chen's physical body was even stronger than he had thought, but that made him worried that Long Chen would be young and impetuous. If he tried to use the fourth form, then it would be best if he failed to fully activate it. If he did and hadn't reached foundation forging, he would definitely die. "All right, I've done everything I came here to do. I'll be leaving," said Feng Xinglie. Third uncle, Long Chen was unwilling to part. Although Feng Xinglie was offhand and casual, he looked after him just like an elder. Long Chen was incredibly grateful. "Don't cry like a woman. That courage that you brought out when you killed people right in front of kings is what makes you a man. Although the old man doesn't like it when I talk so much, let me just say some final words. The Shen Tian Dao sect's sanctimonious fellows are irritating. I despise them. So if you're one day bullied, remember to send a message to the heaven-splitting battle sect in the Central Plains. We'll help you. Okay, I'm really leaving now." Feng Xinglie laughed and pressed his foot down. He vanished from Long Chen's vision. He had come and left so suddenly, but his refreshing and no-nonsense attitude was something Long Chen wouldn't forget for a long time. Looking in the direction Feng Xinglie had left, Long Chen felt like he was in a dream. He felt overwhelmed by the heaven-splitting battle sect's favor and had never imagined that they would look after him so well. "I'll definitely remember this favor and repay it when I can. Wait, I forgot to give him some Yuan Spirit Stones." After all, Yuan Spirit Stones were treasures that contained the original primal chaos energy when the world first formed. The energy within it was also beneficial to kings. But they were treasures that were most needed for sea expansion and foundation forging. They allowed a person to cultivate rapidly, which was why they were precious enough to cause people to go crazy for them. Feng Xinglie had left. Long Chen sorted out his feelings and returned to the Shintian Dao sect. When he did, he saw a chaotic scene in front of him, as well as furious roars. Those voices were familiar. Long Chen hastily rushed over and saw that the Shintian Plaza was filled with disciples. Pushing through the crowd, he reached the center. He saw Guoran and the others, with Li Changfeng and the kings surrounding them. Lu Tianhua was cursing at the Dragon Blood warriors. Long Chen frowned. Then, glancing at the ground, he realized what had happened. A strange expression appeared on his face. "Long Chen, did you do this on purpose?" Long Chen had just squeezed his way to the front of the crowd when Lu Tianhua roared furiously at him. All the young experts from Pill Valley that had come with him were lying on the ground, their faces beaten and bruised. One of them had even lost both his legs. Guoran and the others seemed embarrassed when they saw Long Chen. Guoran said, "Boss, they provoked us first by insulting you over and over." "Nonsense, we didn't do anything like that." Those Pill Valley's disciples were terrified to see Long Chen. If they admitted they had said bad things about him, they might lose their lives. Although their master was standing right beside them, he wasn't able to give them a feeling of safety. Two of them had already been killed by Long Chen right in front of him. "Didn't you just say that the Dragon Blood Legion is a pack of barbarians who have yet to become civilized? Boss is the leader of the Dragon Blood Legion, and by insulting the entire Dragon Blood Legion, how are you not insulting Boss?" said Guoran. Hearing this, then looking at the disciples on the ground, Long Chen could guess what had happened. Guoran was never good at being peaceful. If he didn't act like a poser for a day, he wouldn't be able to calm down. Moreover, these disciples from Pill Valley were all incredibly arrogant and they looked down on others. It was very likely for a conflict to erupt between the former and the latter. As for whether that conflict was started by Pill Valley's disciples or whether Guoran had intentionally baited them, that was a bit harder to say. However, Guoran was definitely a wicked character. Having dared to beat them to this state, he definitely hadn't left any evidence for them to say that he had started things. "Long Chen, if you don't give me an explanation today, I will end you," roared Lu Tianhua. On this trip to the Eastern Wasteland, he had not only lost two of his disciples and been unable to get revenge, but his remaining disciples had also been beaten black and blue. He had completely lost all his face. Don't point at me with your finger. Long Chen frowned. You. Lu Tianhua was enraged. But thinking of Long Chen's temperament, he put away his hand, saying, Long Chen, you must give me an explanation. Li Changfeng didn't have a good opportunity to interject here. He couldn't help but sigh inside. The previous trouble Long Chen had caused had just been settled through negotiations, and he had just been about to send the three of them away when they encountered Lu Tianhua's disciples that were beaten into this state. He had a headache now. But he also knew that Lu Tianhua wouldn't dare to do anything to Long Chen. At most, he would get Long Chen to lower his head and apologize in order to win back some face. Ouyang Chuyu was clenching her teeth furiously. Things had just been settled perfectly, but then another matter erupted. She had an urge to throttle Long Chen. His ability to cause trouble was unrivaled beneath the heavens. What happened? Long Chen ignored Lu Tianhua, asking Guoran about the disciples on the ground. They were rude to us. At first, we just ignored them. After all, boss, you told us not to provoke others if they don't provoke us. If others provoke us, we endure a bit, and if they provoke us again, we pull them up by the roots. So when they acted all badass, we just calmly watched, solemnly studying their poser arts. Later, they felt like just bragging wasn't satisfying enough, and so they asked to exchange some pointers with us. Guyang told them, we're not skilled in such nonsense and only skilled in killing people. Boss doesn't let us randomly bicker. When they heard that, their faces became as long as donkeys, and they began braying insults at us. Then this brother jumped out. Guoran pointed to the fellow that only had his upper body remaining. They really knew how to play. Flames billowed out of their bodies, sometimes forming lotuses, sometimes forming weapons. Those big changes were truly impressive. I'm not scholarly enough to describe it in detail, but in any case, it was incredibly amazing to watch. Boss, you know that we're all poor villagers who have never seen the real world. Looking at their marvelous display, we naturally had to pay a fee as appreciation. Otherwise, others would look down on us. Furthermore, I can count as having some status. When I felt my pocket, I found that there were a few dozen cold coins inside. So I tossed them to the ground. Although we're poor, we still understand rules. Considering what a marvelous show they had put on, we couldn't be stingy. If there is an appreciation to show, we should show it. Then, this fellow suddenly charged toward me, saying my conduct was an insult to him. Wild found him displeasing to the eye, so he beat him a bit. In the end, they all came at us, wanting to beat us, and the result is what you see here, said Guoran as if he had been mistreated. Everyone's expressions were odd. Li Changfeng looked from the crafty Guoran to Long Chen and sighed inside. As expected, a master would raise the same kind of disciple. With a boss like Long Chen, all the people below him were also sure to be uncontrollable characters. But the shocking thing was that Guoran and the others were so strong. Those Pill Valley's disciples were all rank 4 celestials and had all reached the late sea expansion realm. Yet they had still been beaten so miserably. In truth, they were simply unaware that these Pill Valley's disciples all lived like princes and had always been flattered by others. Their strength in relation to their cultivation base was greatly lacking. As for the Dragonblood Legion, having followed Long Chen for so long, they were all vicious people who had killed their way out of piles of corpses. Although they normally didn't give off much of a dangerous feeling, when they fought, everyone would tremble at their killing intent. To Guoran and the others, the Pill Valley's disciples were nothing more than fat sheep in fancy clothes, impressive looking but useless. But then you shouldn't have been so vicious to your opponents. Lu Tianhua still twisted the truth to suit him. Long Chen's expression suddenly sank, and he scolded Guoran. How could you cause such trouble? This caused Guoran and the others to jump in surprise. They didn't know why Long Chen would suddenly get so angry. Had they done something wrong? Long Chen raged, what have I taught you all this time? Our Xiantian Dao sect is the leader of the Eastern Wasteland's righteous path. We have to be an example for all. But look at what you've all done. Tell me, don't you think it's embarrassing? Were all my teachings just wind through your ears? Long Chen's scolding caused Lu Tianhua's expression to improve slightly. This could count as lowering his head to Pill Valley. In the end, youngsters losing in a little scuffle didn't affect Pill Valley's prestige. The only reason why Lu Tianhua was so furious was because he had been stifling a belly full of rage all this time. Although Li Changfeng had represented Long Chen to apologize to them all and had also given them some compensation, he was still irritated. He had lost 2 of his beloved apprentices instead of gaining what he had wanted, causing him to lose all his face. However, he was also helpless to do anything about it. That rage had been brewing this entire time. Then when he walked out and saw that the rest of his disciples had been beaten so badly, well, anyone would find it unbearable. But now that Long Chen was scolding Guoran and the others, his expression became a bit better. Lu Tianhua knew to get going while the getting was good. He was just about to have Li Changfeng state their punishment, which would be no more than a single cane, but Long Chen's next words made him almost pass out. Guoran, you've got a big brain. But why can't you remember anything useful? You think with your current ability, you can become a spendthrift? Do you remember how hard we had to work for just a few points in the 108th monastery? You threw out dozens of gold coins in one go? How generous! Do you know how hard we have to work to get that much money? I always tell you to be frugal. Money is always the most important thing for any power. Guoran, although you're my best brother, you've committed an unforgivable mistake. Don't blame me for being merciless. Long Chen clenched his teeth. No, boss, please. Please, give me another chance. A horrified expression crept over Guoran's face, and he knelt on the ground next to Long Chen, holding his leg, wailing. Everyone was startled. What was Long Chen about to do? To cause Guoran to be so terrified, was he going to kill him? Or was he going to expel him from the Dragon Blood Legion? The others didn't understand, but the Dragon Blood Legion did. All of them knew what was happening, and Meng Qi sighed deeply, shaking her head. On the other hand, Tang Wana was stifling her laughter. I've decided. Long Chen hardened his heart. Boss, no. I'm begging you, on account of how long we've been together, how much loyalty I've shown you, please don't. Look, I'll take back the money right now. Here, I'll give it all to you. Please, boss, just pretend this never happened. Guoran picked up all the gold coins and offered them to Long Chen with both hands raised, pitifully staring at him. Looking at the tears in Guoran's eyes and how pitiful he looked, everyone felt emotional. As for Long Chen, he almost kicked him away in fury. It was just a play, so was there any need to act so over the top? He almost coughed up blood from watching. Long Chen didn't dare to look at him as this bastard's expression was too powerful. He was afraid he'd laugh. Looking into the distance, he indifferently shook his head. Rules are rules. No one can change them, including myself. So I have to do this. Everyone held their breath. Long Chen grabbed Guoran's neck, shouting, I'm going to garnish 1 year of your salary. Don't you like showing off? Don't you like being generous with your money? Well, for the next year, don't even think of getting a single copper coin from me. As his words resounded throughout the plaza, everyone turned into stone statues. Boss, don't. I have so many women in my family, so many babies that need my support. They live off my salary dash. Guoran's face was covered in tears and snot. That's enough. Lu Tianhua's hair stood on end from rage. They were clearly just playing with him. He had given them a way to step down when he thought that Long Chen was giving him face. However, it was a complete waste of time. This was too much. No one would play with people like this. After beating someone, they were now wrangling over a few gold coins? Lu Tianhua had no choice but to stop this nonsense. Long Chen, I wasn't haggling with you over the gold coins, raged Lu Tianhua. You weren't? Ugh, why didn't you say so sooner? Long Chen sighed. To Guoran he said, all right, since they're not going to pursue it, this matter can end here. I won't garnish your salary. Many thanks, boss. Guoran's mournful expression vanished. The speed at which he returned to his old self defied imagination. Long Chen, don't try to avoid the important thing. I was talking about how your people beat my disciples. There was nothing wrong with that. said Long Chen righteously. You! How many times do I have to say it? Don't point at me with your finger. Have you gone senile with age? Raged Long Chen. What's wrong with youngsters exchanging pointers? Furthermore, it was all caused by your people, but you don't feel ashamed to cry foul? What, when you win you laugh, but when you lose you cry? Only you can win but others can't? What kind of logic is that? If you are brazen enough to come and wag your tail in front of other people's faces, you had best be prepared to be slapped. If you bare your butt to others, be ready to have your ass kicked. Choked laughter erupted from countless people. These words were amazingly profound, the pinnacle of conciseness and comprehensiveness. Alright. A fight between youngsters isn't something seniors should interfere in. Young people should have that energy. The earlier youngsters suffer, the better it is for their future. Brother Tianhua, let's just leave this matter as it is. With your magnanimity, there's no need for you to quibble with a child, said Li Changfeng. He had no choice but to try and advise Lu Tianhua. Looking at his infuriated expression, he had to admire Long Chen. Whether it was combat power, the sharpness of his tongue, or his ability to cause trouble, he was practically peerless. According to regular methods, he should have given his guest face and first chided his own child. But with Long Chen's temper, he felt uneasy doing that, so he instead advised Lu Tianhua not to quibble over this. He, a grand king, was quibbling with a child over face? Well, if he could win, then that would be fine. But the main thing was that he couldn't win, so he was just losing more face. Even if Li Changfeng wasn't present, Long Chen had Feng Xinglie and Ling Yunzi supporting him. He, Lu Tianhua, wouldn't dare to touch even a strand of hair on Long Chen's head. So, in Li Changfeng's opinion, continuing to set himself against Long Chen was foolish for Lu Tianhua. Fine, Long Chen, let's just wait and see. Obviously, although Lu Tianhua was a king, he was incapable of just brushing off such a matter. He came from Pill Valley, and he was used to being arrogant and getting his way. Even though he was leaving things as they were, he said some final words to express his fury. Just at this moment, a person squeezed their way through the crowd. That person was Yu Zifeng. He said to Long Chen, "Boss, sect leader Ling Yunzi has left. He asked me to give this to you and to tell you to be careful." Lu Tianhua had been in the midst of leaving, but when he saw what was in Yu Zifeng's hand, he came to a shocking stop. A king from the Bloodkill Hall. That was a human head with a fierce mask on it. And although it wasn't possible to see its true face, that terrifying pressure that came from it caused all the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples to tremble. That was the head of a king. Li Changfeng, Lu Tianhua, and the others were all shocked. That was no ordinary king, but a terrifying assassin king. That mask was a sign of his origins, the specific mark of the Bloodkill Hall. Just thinking of a king-level assassin caused the kings to tremble. Assassins were the most terrifying professions. Even if their actual combat power was weaker than yours, they still had 1,000 ways to kill you. Killing someone in the same realm was incredibly easy for them. That was why all those kings were fearful. Why would a king from the Bloodkill Hall come here? Everyone was startled and looked at Long Chen. It seemed there was only one reason for him to come. In the immemorial path, the corrupt path, the righteous path, and the ancient races had taken heavy losses. But the ones to be completely annihilated were the Bloodkill Hall. They had been too concentrated in one location. All the experts below Huang Junmo had been gathered on the ground and exterminated with one attack. Not one of them lived to tell the tale. Could it be that the Bloodkill Hall is ignoring their own rules? Did they send a king to assassinate Long Chen? Li Changfeng's face was dark. The Bloodkill Hall was loathsome, as they were a pack of monsters who would kill anyone for money, even their own parents. They were assassins with no morals, but everyone knew they had one rule, and that was that they would never assassinate someone in a lower realm than them. But now, one of their kings had snuck their way into the Xiantian Dao sect. If they were to say that he had just come for fun, no one would believe it. Long Chen, congratulations on having the Bloodkill Hall place their sights on you. I wish you a long life, said Lu Tianhua delightedly. Then he brought out his flying boat and took all his heavily injured disciples away. The ancient races and ancient family alliances kings also left. Their emotions were about the same as Lu Tianhua's. But their delight in Long Chen's misfortune was covered up by their shock and terror. That king-level assassin had definitely been targeting Long Chen, but he had been killed by Ling Yunzi. That kind of power was absolutely terrifying. It was said that the Bloodkill Hall did not accept missions to assassinate sword cultivators, because sword cultivators' spiritual perception was extremely refined. It was difficult for the assassins to even approach them. This had further proved that sword cultivators were the bane of assassins. With such a terrifying figure supporting him, they didn't dare to have any thoughts of doing anything to Long Chen. Although Ling Yunzi had left, the head he had left behind was a shocking display of power. Long Chen was also a bit surprised to see a king-level assassin, but this was within his expectations. He had known the Bloodkill Hall wouldn't take this matter lying down. For the Bloodkill Hall to slap its own face and break the rule it had established was a bit out of his expectations. However, after a moment of shock, Long Chen wasn't scared. His 4th star was completed, and his spiritual perception had only grown stronger. Furthermore, Feng Xinglia had imparted split the heavens divine runes to him. Once he condensed those, he wouldn't fear anyone. Even if he couldn't beat them, he would feel assured of being able to get away. Senior Ling Yunzi left? Why was he in such a rush? Asked Long Chen. It's unclear. Senior didn't say. Yu Zifeng shook his head. After giving him the head, Ling Yunzi had left just like that. His actions were incomprehensible. Zifeng, your heavenly Tao energy. Long Chen suddenly took a closer look at Yu Zifeng. The fluctuations of heavenly Tao energy had disappeared from his body. Senior erased my heavenly Tao energy, saying that while it could help me now, it would be a hindrance to me in the future. The gains don't make up for the loss. For a sword cultivator, just one sword is enough, said Yu Zifeng. Li Changfeng and Lu Minghan were deeply shaken. Just what kind of power did Ling Yunzi possess for him to be able to wipe away a person's heavenly Tao energy? He was able to turn a celestial into a normal person without causing any damage to them? That was incomprehensible. Long Chen came to a sudden comprehension. Ling Yunzi was right. Sword cultivators walked a different path than others. He had almost accidentally harmed Yu Zifeng. Fortunately, Ling Yunzi had righted that mistake. Now that Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia had left, Long Chen couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed and frustrated. Since Phoenix Cry, he had always relied on himself. He had never depended on others, but this time, this matter had grown to a shocking level. Ling Yunzi and Feng Xinglia's arrival had caused him to feel how nice it was to be protected. He was extremely grateful. Once everyone scattered, Long Chen was called over by Ouyang Chuyu. Within a private room, Ouyang Chuyu hesitated for a long time before saying, Long Chen, do you really not have any Yuan spirit stones left? I do, but I won't give them to just anyone, said Long Chen directly. He knew that Lu Minghan and Li Changfeng had pressured her into asking this, or Ouyang Chuyu definitely wouldn't have asked. Then have you thought about offering a few of those Yuan spirit stones to your seniors? You'll gain more benefits, and when you enter the head sect said Ouyang Chuyu. Let's just forget about that. Just our eastern wastelands Xiantian Dao sect is rotten to its core. It's not hard for me to guess what the situation will be like in the head sect. If I offer up Yuan spirit stones, I won't be able to obtain anything I want. Instead, I would become someone who ends up being promoted through bribes, and that's definitely not worth it. So it's best for those things to stay in my hands. If I encounter things I need in the future, then I might trade them. So no matter what, I won't give them any Yuan spirit stones. Big sister, you can go back directly and tell them there's nothing for them. When I was powerless, when I needed help, did they help me? Now that I have some good stuff, they came here to talk about morality and principles? Do they think I'm an idiot? Sneered Long Chen. If Ouyang Chuyu needed them, then Long Chen wouldn't even frown before giving them to her. But he wouldn't give them to others. Ouyang Chuyu knew Long Chen's temperament, so she didn't try to change his mind. Long Chen left just like that. But a day later, he got a message to go see Ouyang Chuyu again. As soon as he stepped to the palace, Lu Minghan appeared in front of him, his expression icy. Looking at Lu Minggen's icy expression, Long Chen instantly understood what was going on. What? Are you in such a hurry? Soft tactics don't work, so you're trying some hard ones? To trick me by pretending to be the sect master, are you trying to interrogate me? Said Long Chen. Lu Minghan coldly said, Long Chen, you are a disciple of the Xiantian Dao sect. It was the Xiantian Dao sect that raised you. If you don't even know how to repay kindness, how are you any different from an animal? Long Chen sneered, don't put it so sanctimoniously. All you want is my Yuan spirit stones. Well, let me tell you the truth, I don't have any Yuan spirit stones. Do you think I'm so easy to fool? Snorted Lu Minghan. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care. Furthermore, what's mine is mine. Don't use the name of ethics to extort me. Who do you think you are? If I owe the Xiantian Dao sect, then the ones I owe are Ling Yunzi, Shui Wuhen, and Ouyang Chuyu. As for you, you only came here to get some benefits. Are you looking to raise your merit to the sect to get promoted? Not a bad plan, said Long Chen disdainfully. Long Chen, I'm only going to ask once again. We aren't greedy for your Yuan spirit stones. We are doing this entirely for your own good. If you hand over your Yuan spirit stones, the sect will help protect them for you. That way, you don't need to worry about others getting greedy for your treasures, said Lu Minghan. Thank you for your care, but I think you're worrying over nothing. I don't have any treasures, so there's no need to worry over my safety, said Long Chen indifferently. Brute, you're looking to die, raged Lu Minghan. You're the one looking to die, you old bastard. Long Chen had long since realized that this fellow wasn't a good person, so he cursed right back. Right now, he couldn't expose the fact that he had more Yuan spirit stones. This wasn't just a problem of Yuan spirit stones. The divine mortal molting elixir and 10,000 spirit blood were also absolute treasures. He was sure that the Dragon Blood Legion's display, which had relied on these treasures, had been noticed by these wily old foxes. Long Chen had hundreds of millions of Yuan spirit stones in his primal chaos space right now. That was the result of all the immemorial paths aboriginals sending their Yuan spirit stones to him. But he couldn't hand over a single one. The Yuan spirit stones would just be a start. Once he started handing them over, he would be doomed. Through that, they would force him to hand over the divine mortal molting elixir, 10,000 spirit blood, and perhaps even the heavenly Dao fruits. So even if he died, he couldn't hand them over. One concession would lead to a total collapse. He had already declared his position with Ouyang Chuyu. He wouldn't hand them anything. He trusted Ouyang Chuyu as she would definitely protect his secret. As for Shui Wuhen, there was no need to say anything about that. No one would be able to get the slightest bit of valuable information out of her about Long Chen. So all he had to do was stubbornly repeat that he had none and refuse to give them anything. Brat! Lu Minghan suddenly sent a palm toward him. Long Chen smashed a fist forward, summoning the green dragon battle armor. He had to go all out against a king. Don't overestimate yourself, sneered Lu Minghan. When Long Chen's fist smashed onto Lu Minggen's palm, there should have been a huge explosion. Their power should have blown apart the palace and drawn over all the Xiantian Dao sect's attention. Then he would be safe. But Long Chen was startled to find that it was like his fist had struck cotton. It only caused a muffled sound. His power vanished like it had never existed, and his hand was caught. A terrifying energy instantly confined him. It was like millions of steel bars had constricted him, making it so he couldn't move an inch. In front of a true king, you are just an ant. You want to resist? Keep dreaming. Since you don't appreciate kindness, I'll personally go through your memories. Lu Minghan placed a finger on Long Chen's forehead. Spiritual strength poured into his mind-sea. Long Chen was startled and enraged. If this bastard were to go through his memories, then the 9-star Hegemon body art, primal chaos bead, and Eastern Wasteland bell would all be exposed. He hastily circulated his spiritual strength to defend. Your spiritual strength is not bad, but it's still not even close to enough. Lu Minghan snorted, and vicious spiritual strength smashed against Long Chen's mind-sea. Blood poured out of Long Chen's orifices. Lu Minggen's berserk spiritual strength was too strong. A king's spiritual strength wasn't something he could resist. Lu Minghan, what do you think you're doing? Just as Long Chen's defenses were about to completely collapse and his memories were about to be exposed, the door to the room was blown apart. Li Changfeng furiously charged in. Senior brother, this Long Chen refuses to recognize kindness. I'm forcing him to tell us his secrets. Lu Minghan ignored Li Changfeng's arrival, continuing to bring forth more of his soul energy to break Long Chen's final barrier. Lu Minghan, if you don't stop, don't blame me for not caring about our relationship. Li Changfeng's face was ashen. His hand was gripping the sword on his back, and a fierce aura locked onto Lu Minghan. Senior brother, the sound of a sword coming out of its sheath rang out. Li Changfeng's expression was firm. An unwilling expression appeared on Lu Minghan's face, but he was extremely intimidated by Li Changfeng. He released Long Chen. Pow! Lu Minghan had just released Long Chen when Long Chen's hand viciously struck across his face. Lu Minghan hadn't expected Long Chen to dare to strike him, and as a result, half his face caved in and a bunch of yellow teeth scattered to the ground. Lu Minghan, fuck your mother. Long Chen was completely infuriated. After slapping him, Blood Drinker appeared in his hand. Split the heavens 3. Even Li Changfeng hadn't expected Long Chen to suddenly attack. And he was using such a powerful move at that. Lu Minghan didn't have a powerful physical body. Imbued by the green dragon battle armor, Long Chen's slap had almost caused his head to explode. By the time he reacted, Long Chen's saber chi had reached him. It was too late to form hand seals, and the only thing he could do was to use the simplest defense, circulating his spiritual yuan to form a barrier around him. This hasty defense was made by a king, but it was still cut through by Long Chen's attack. Lu Minghan vomited blood, flying back. He slammed into a pillar in the palace, causing the whole palace to crumble. Dust flew everywhere, and the Shintian Dao sect shook. All of the disciples rushed over in surprise, just barely managing to see the scene of the Shintian Dao sect's palace crumble to the ground. Heavens, isn't that the king, Lu Minghan? As the palace collapsed, a figure flew out of it, a deep cut on the front of his body. He had almost been cut in two. Everyone was horrified. What person was terrifying enough to heavily injure a king? Lu Minghan, you rat bastard, die. Suddenly, the crumbling palace exploded. Long Chen charged out at Lu Minghan. Kill Lu Minghan. Cut him down. The Dragon Blood warriors had no idea what was happening, but seeing Long Chen so enraged, they all charged at Lu Minghan. Ouyang Qiuyu and Xue Wuhan also appeared. But they were lost, because Lu Minghan had just sent them a message that he had something to discuss with them. They had been patiently waiting for him this entire time. But even after an hour, he hadn't appeared. When they sensed Long Chen's aura when he destroyed the palace, they finally realized something was very off, and they rushed over just in time to see this scene. The Dragon Blood warriors were charging at Lu Minghan. Wild was the first to arrive. Using the barbarian blood bronze body, he came smashing down with a huge bone club. Fuck off! Lu Minghan was infuriated at being injured by Long Chen. That attack had been strange. It contained a special energy within it, or it wouldn't have been able to break his defense. Seeing Wild arriving, he let out a single punch. Wild was blown back, vomiting blood. A king's power was truly terrifying. But Wild was also extremely powerful, and Lu Minghan received a backlash. His just-fused injury once more split open, causing blood to splash. Tang Wana, Guo Ran, Gu Yang, Song Mingyuan, Li Qi, and Yu Zifeng's attacks all arrived. They didn't care what was happening. As long as Lu Minghan was an enemy of Long Chen's, they would fight to the death against him. Ants. All of you can die, roared Lu Minghan. His body began to shine. Yellow springs devour souls. Just as Lu Minghan was about to counterattack, a huge spiritual blade slashed down. Lu Minghan felt like countless needles had stabbed his soul. Boom. Gu Yang and the others' attacks landed on Lu Minghan's body. But they were startled to find that their attacks were unable to break the defensive light around his body. Just at this moment, A blood-colored saber viciously slashed through Lu Mingan's neck. Blood spurted into the air along with the head. All the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples were like wooden statues. They hadn't even understood what was happening before Long Chen cut off a king's head. After cutting Lu Mingan's head, he extended a hand, launching a lightning arrow at it, wanting to completely kill him. Xian Heaven and Earth Seal. Li Changfeng finally took action. Countless chains appeared throughout heaven and earth. Everyone was bound by them, including Lu Mingan's headless body. Lu Mingan's head flew back to his neck through some unknown means, and he instantly healed. Li Changfeng, release me. I'll kill all these damnable brats, roared Lu Minghan. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.